The main character is heading to her future husband. Someone from the crowd says that the Count is incredibly lucky because he has such a young and beautiful bride. But his friend tells the guy to be quiet because they will hear him and suggests that he just congratulate them. Someone else says what a wonderful day it is. The main character thinks why this day is wonderful and why life is like this. The priest asks the lady to marry Count Hind. The girl thinks how insignificant her life is. The lady also remembers the laboratory and realizes that it was hell on earth for her. She tried so hard to escape her abusive father and ended up marrying this man. The girl thinks about this man and realizes that a year later he cheated on her and also cruelly poisoned her. Now the main character thinks that it's good, and since she knows the future, she can avoid such a fate. And also everything goes according to plan. At this time, someone addresses Luliti Brique, and when the girl looks at this guy, then he thinks about how beautiful his features are, and then he asks if the lady didn't hear him. The girl wonders if there shouldn't be a high priest there, and if he swapped with a lower priest. But if there had been a high priest there, he would have sorted everything out himself. But since there is a low priest, will he really just throw her out? But by the way, it doesn't matter, because she needs to think about herself. First of all, the girl throws the bouquet at the same moment, and also turns to the priest and asks if he has a lover by any chance. The guy doesn't even know what she'll answer, and the main character claims that it seems not, after which she says that, thank God. The lady approaches the priest and kisses him. She also says that he can ask for whatever he wants as compensation, but the guy is surprised by this. And then he gets completely embarrassed and asks what the lady is doing. At the same moment, people in the hall start talking indignantly. What is this lady doing in a sacred place right in front of her fiancé, and she just kissed another man? It is at this time that he thinks how the girl dared to do this to him, and it is such a shame. He also screams what a worthless girl she is, and raising his hand asks, how dare she disgrace him? But at that very moment, someone grabs the man by the arm and tells him to stop. It turns out to be a guy with blonde hair, after which he turns to Count Hind, and he says that if he continues, he will order him to be thrown into prison. The man understands that these are holy knights. They are the strongest armed group in the empire, so he immediately runs away screaming. The blonde realizes that this guy acts the same way he looks well. At that very moment, he hears someone else talking to him. It turns out that this is the main character, after which she thanks him, and claims that if it weren't for their help, something irreparable would have happened. One of the knights at this time says that the lady should not thank him, because she is still the one, will become the bride of their captain. The main character asks what they are talking about, after which the guy is surprised. And then he turns to the captain and asks if this is true since they have already kissed. All that was left was to complete the ceremony, after which the guy sighed, and the young man with red hair claimed that they had all been waiting for the captain to get married. The main character then thinks in shock that this can't be, and that this guy is not a priest, and the captain of the Holy Knights. The Eastern Empire is a land rich in milk and honey. There is developed art culture, and also strong troops, in this country, where all power is in the hands of three great families. One of them belongs to Count Lithold, another to Count Potis, the third to Count Brique. And among them, the only family that possesses enormous magic is the girl from Brique. The main character realizes that she is Lulua Brique. A little while ago, one of the butlers asked when the master would finally resign himself. After all, the experiment failed 10 years ago, but then someone said that because of his persistence, they live well. Then someone else says, how many people have already died? But the man suggests that the maid be quieter, because today they too can fall into eternal sleep when the master returns home. The main character then started to run away, but when one of the maids noticed it, then she grabbed the lady and screamed that she couldn't do that, because she hadn't yet recovered from the last experiment. And if this time it happens again. Lulua then turned to her maid. Sway responded to the lady, after which Lulua claimed that she was fine, because it was her father's order, and it can't be worse. At that moment, someone walks through the mansion and says that these corridors are a real labyrinth. At the same moment, this guy addresses the young lady as a match and says that he knew that she was not very bright. But this is already too much. Can't she even cope with one maid? The main character understands that it is Diold, but he only laughs and says that since the lady has a small supply of magic, she can't even use it properly. The guy also claims that she won't get her father's approval and asks if it's really gotten to that point. that she allows the maid to raise her voice at her right in the hallway, Lulucha claims that the guy speaks like that, as if it were his father, to which he replies that, of course, his uncle is almost like a father to him. And unlike the lady who is a guinea pig, he is the next heir of Brique, after which the guy uses his power at all, and he asks the match if this is so. The maid at the same moment becomes concerned and turns to the mistress, and then he hugs her, trying to protect her. Diold immediately asks what they were so afraid of, and whoever he is, he has no right to touch his father's lab mouse. The guy also asks what's wrong with the girl's face, and whether she's offended. After all, even though she is Brique, she is so worthless that she cannot light even a small fire. He also asks the girl if she doesn't need to go, since she can only be useful as a guinea pig. The maid then turns to the mistress with concern, but she only leaves. The guy laughs after her and says that they will see each other later. But when the lady ran away somewhere, an unknown voice addressed her and told the lady not to be afraid because everything would be fine. The girl opened the door, but at that very moment, she was met by a man who said that she was late, and she is also the creature that put her mother into eternal sleep at birth, so she could at least knock. The man asks if he really allowed her too much, since she doesn't know such obvious things. He also told the lady not to worry, because today he would not allow her to be stupid anymore. Then he grabbed the girl by the hand, and she screamed so much that it hurt, after which she turned to her father. But he only brought her to the magical apparatus and told her to release her magic there. The lady, with tears in her eyes, claimed that she had almost no magic left and that she could really fall into eternal sleep. The man just used his magic and screamed for her to shut up, if only it weren't for her. Then Petcha would not have plunged into eternal sleep. The main character understands that her mother Petcha, she fell into eternal sleep, giving birth to her. When the man stood near her grave, he heard someone crying. This was the main character. The man then thought that his wife had gone into eternal sleep only to give birth to this tiny creature. The father who loved his mother madly hated the girl all his life, and she existed as a guinea pig. Like other magical slaves, only to resurrect her mother, Lydia turned to her father and said that she was afraid. But he screamed for the girl to shut up, because Brique doesn't need those who don't know how to use magic. And if he uses a girl, then maybe Petcha will come back to life, after which the main character used magic, and she thought that if it weren't for her, her mother might still be alive. A little while later, the lady collapses on the floor. Then she hears someone talking to her and congratulating her. He also claims that he heard, "The girl blew up the magic hall, and now they will get rid of her, because her father said that he would sell her to the old man." The guy also says that he will finally no longer see the girl, and then says goodbye to her altogether. A little while later, the main character walks on water and wonders if this is a dream or if she is no longer alive. Well, then someone else turns to Lulua and says that they have finally met. The main character looking at this girl thinks if it is really her. The stranger tells Lulucha not to worry because she has not yet fallen into eternal sleep. She also claims that the girl's life will end only in a few years. Lulucha is asked what she is talking about, after which the lady invites her to see the whole poor daughter of Duke Brique was sold to the old Count Hind, and she was poisoned by him. The girl is still alive because she haven't sold yet, but the main character tells the lady to wait, and he asks what she is talking about, and she answers that the girl will find out soon, and if she trusts her, she will tell. Lulucha realizes that her life after that was as written in the book. Her father sold her, who became useless. The vile Count Hind, and she did it because she didn't want to go into eternal sleep in a miserable way. But the girl thought that she was doomed, and the man she kissed was the commander of the Holy Knights. His name is Kaneshel. The guy is the only one in his empire who can use the golden sacred power. The leader of the Holy Knights and the strongest armed group in the empire. Compensation is not a problem because she will immediately end up in the church torture chamber for insulting her honor and dignity. The girl immediately becomes depressed and thinks about what to do, and the blonde immediately turns to the lady. And he says that now there is no time for this, because they need to go, and he is also pleased to meet his daughter-in-law. The main character tells them to wait, after which one of them claims that now that they have kissed it is time to choose a place for the wedding, and it would be ideal if the lady went to the Temple of Crescenta. The blonde also tells her not to be shy, and orders that his daughter-in-law be taken to the temple as soon as possible. The commander of the Holy Knights at this time says that the lady did not even agree, but asks if Crone is not forcing her, and what if she does not want. The guy does not even know what to answer after this, and Kanchel tells him not to touch the lady as he pleases. The blonde immediately apologizes, and he says that he needs to go because he remembered something urgent. The main character asks if he is just leaving, and then wants to say that she is too. But at the same moment, the commander of the knights apologizes to Lady Brique for his rudeness. He claims that he will teach the knights a lesson, but he wonders what the lady is going to do. The main character only thinks that if you look at this guy up close, he is really handsome. And besides, she doesn't think that he will send her to prison and torture her. If so, she feels relieved, but still does not understand what to do, because she ruined the wedding, and should she return home after that? It is worse than falling into eternal sleep, and even passing out Lulua, then asks if she can go with them to the temple, so the girl follows them. But a little while later, the lady looks at the temple and asks what happened there, and also why is there such devastation in the temple of the goddess, and also terrible dust and cobwebs. Then the lady looks at the altar and realizes that there is a mouse there. The guy claims that he is so busy with work that he doesn't have time for all this. The main character claims that since the knight's work is very important, there is nothing she can do about it, and also claims that all decorations must be removed before cleaning. Lulua says that since no one is waiting for her anymore, she can clean up without rushing. The guy asks if the lady has nowhere to go, which surprises her, and the guy asks what she means. And wasn't she going to marry Count Hind because she loved him? And if the Count loved her, then she would be forgiven for the kiss. Lulua replies that it is not love, and that her father forced her to marry him, because now he does not need a guinea pig like her. But when the lady looks at the expression on her interlocutor's face, she thinks, what's wrong with him? The guy claims that Crone had previously called her daughter-in-law, and the lady might have thought it was a joke. Well, he thinks he should have said it back then, when they kissed the main character, then tells him to wait a minute. Well, at that very moment, the guy gets down on one knee and asks Lady Brique if she will marry him. The guy claims that he is Kanachel and Crater, will be with her in joy and sorrow. The main character realizes that he is using golden sacred power, after which she screams for him to stop. The lady closes his mouth and understands that if the guy breaks the oath given with the involvement of holy power, he will plunge into eternal sleep. Therefore, Lulua says that he cannot, and it is useless to look at her with such eyes. The main character thinks what he is doing, and she thought that he was unhappy, but the guy suddenly makes an offer, and besides, his expression reminds her of something one day, when the girl was a baby, she ran up to Rhett, and she asked what he was doing there alone. The guy immediately turned to Miss Hay. The girl claimed that she thought he would get hungry, so she brought it, after which the guy thanked her. Lulua told him to open it and be surprised. The boy asked what it was. The lady told him to just open it. When the boy opened the wrapper, and he was surprised, because it was an exquisite sandwich, Lulua asked if it was really that great, because it had 5 thick slices of ham. The guy then thanked the lady and said that she should eat too. He can eat too. The main character asked him what he was talking about, and he could eat it himself. Now Lulua thinks that maybe she was mistaken. After all this, boy fell into eternal sleep when her father conducted magical experiments on him. At the same moment, they hear someone else, and it turns out to be a blonde guy. He apologizes for interrupting their fun, but asserts that a visitor came to the lady. The main character sees her maid, and Tattoo immediately hugs the mistress. Lulua says that she said that she couldn't come to the wedding, but she came anyway, and the woman replies that she was worried about the lady, so she secretly snuck in there. The maid also turns to the knight and thanks him for helping her, because thanks to him, she was able to meet the miss again. The blonde replies that there is no problem, because it is his duty as a knight. The main character looks at Sui and is touched. Kanchel watches her and then says that if the lady doesn't mind, then they can both stay there as long as they want. The main character asks how she can do that, and she had previously rejected the commander, but the guy replies that everything is fine, and he just wants to do everything to return the temple to its former appearance. Lulua thanks him, after which the guy also turns to Crone and tells him to show these two where they will live. Crone asks if he really has to do this, and he thought that the commander himself wanted to see them off. Well, when the guy doesn't answer, the blonde says that then they should follow him. The main character agrees, but then sees Kanchel leave a little while later. They head to the second floor. Lulutia thinks that she is ashamed that she lives at his expense. The blonde at this time asks if the temple has become a little dilapidated. He also claims that they don't have the best position in the empire, so they hardly receive donations. The main character asks if this is true, and the guy just smiles and tells her not to make such a face, because it's not like he doesn't understand the situation in the Eastern Empire. There are a lot of barbarians with holy powers around, so there is unrest in the empire. And what's worse is that the Pope lives there, who was expelled from the Holy Land. Lulucha asks if this is true, but the blonde asks if she didn't know about it. The girl replies that due to illness, she spent all her time in the estate and heard nothing about the outside world. Mladen also asks for forgiveness and claims that he did not know, but the lady replies that everything is fine, and he asks to allow him to explain it to her briefly. More than 10 years ago, the crown prince of the Holy Nation disappeared, and at the same time as luck would have it, the power of the Holy Father weakened. Oleg's painting was that the disappearance of the crown prince angered the goddess, and they also blamed the Holy Father for everything, saying that faith was insufficient and the goddess was beside herself with rage. In the end, the Pope, like an outcast, had to flee to the temple of the Eastern Empire. The blonde claims that there are holy knights using only during demon attacks, but having helped the Pope, they also came under attack. But the main character says that if even the Holy Father can't, then why don't the knights themselves return to the Holy Land? To which he replies that it's impossible. After all, the sanctuary is in the Eastern Empire. Lulutia asks if he is talking about the sanctuary, to which he replies that yes, and it is in this temple that the goddess ascended into the sky on a dragon, and this is the very ancient sanctuary. Now the relations between the Empire and the Holy Land are getting worse and worse, so they must remain there, at least to protect the sanctuary. A little while later, the maid talks to the lady, after which she hears someone knocking and asking who is there. The guy who appears behind the door claims to be the local cook. The maid asks what happened, and he replies that their commander asked him to prepare a meal, especially for the two of them. The main character then thanks him, but wonders what's wrong with his expression. When the maid opens the plate of food, she tells the miss to just look at what an appetizing chicken is there. The main character is surprised and says that she will have to thank the commander later. The maid then agrees and starts looking for cutlery. Well, then her mistress takes a fork, and he tells her to try it, after which the maid replies that first the miss must eat. A little while later, the maid is already combing her mistress's hair and says that everyone there is so kind. Everyone loves the lady, and the food is better than she thought. Lulucia replies that she never thought she would be able to eat meat. Well, then the main character notices the comb and turns to Sui. The maid asks if the mistress recognizes him, since she brought this comb just in case. Lulutia realizes that it belonged to her mother, and then asks what Sui thinks about staying there. The maid replies that she agrees, and if it makes the mistress happy, then she is ready to be anywhere. The maid also says that in general it is already late, so let the lady rest and think about it tomorrow, to which she replies that yes, and this is a good idea. A little while later, the girl is already lying in bed and realizes that so much has happened today. She never thought that she would be proposed to in a temple, and this guy swore his life for the sake of a woman he had never seen. So the main character wonders what this guy was thinking. The next morning, the maid turns to her mistress and tells her that it is time for her to get up. The main character immediately gets out of bed, and the maid claims that the lady needs to eat. Lulucia asks where she is, and then remembers everything that happened yesterday, and she realizes that she must stay in the temple for a while. Well, then the maid suddenly screams out, "What is this?" The maid asks how this can be, because she doesn't believe her eyes. And how could they offer such a terrible meal to the lady? The main character, looking at this dish, thinks that it is too much. But the maid immediately asserts that she will not tolerate this and will fight for her mistress in the kitchen. The main character tells the maid to wait and suggests that she calm down, because first she needs to check something. A little while later, the girl asks what he means, and the cook sighs. And the lady asks if the chicken she ate last night was the last one. The cook then asks what he can do, since the commander told him to give this crust to the lady no matter what happens. The main character replies that she is grateful, but cries out that if only she knew, she would have refused to eat it. The guy replies that the chicken was doomed anyway. They can boil and eat the roots of the trees. Well, the lady replies that she does not scream, that she cannot allow the people who saved her. There is such terrible food. Lulutia takes the maid's hand and says that they need to go. When the maid asks where the lady is going, she answers that they are going to the bank. A little while later, the girl is already signing the document, and the bank employee claims that the cash advance has been approved. Sui asks Miss if everything will be okay with her, because if her father finds out, Lulutia is silent for a while, but then claims that everything is fine, and that Sui shouldn't worry since the temple is the only place where the nobles won't dare to go. Even though he is her father, he can't harm them while they are there. And besides, it was pocket money that her father put on her account. The girl understands that in fact, he just wanted to use them after she plunges into eternal sleep. Well, all this is not important. After which, the two head to the market and buy some food. A little while later, they head to the carriage. Well then, the lady turns her attention to the bun shop. A little while later, the two arrive at the temple. Lulutia claims it was not easy, and the maid agrees with her. At this time, someone else addresses Lady Brique and asks where she was all this time. The girl answers that she went to the city center with Sui. She also claims that a cart is coming soon and asks if they want to look at it. The guy asks if she is talking about the cart, and the lady replies yes and invites him to watch with the knights. A little while later, they are already looking into the carriage, and they see chickens there. The blonde claims that it is simply magnificent and wonders what it all is. Lulutia replies that it is her gift to them, or rather, it is an offering. The girl claims that she was in debt to them, so let them at least accept this. The lady also turns to the cook and thanks him for cooking her chicken. After all, it must have been hard. Varya replies that it wasn't, and claims that he should be the one saying thank you. This is the first time they have received proper food. Cane Shell is in his office at this time. He also hears someone knocking and then tells that person to come in. Lulutia asks for forgiveness and enters the office, and Kaneshel asks what happened. The girl replies that it's nothing special, and that she just has a gift as a token of gratitude. He asks if he can open it too, which the lady replies, of course, and when he does so, then the lady claims it's a sandwich with 5 thick slices of ham. Then the lady also says she thinks she has to go. Well, when she sees the expression on the knight commander's face, she asks if he doesn't like it. The guy replies that it's not about that, because he remembered the old days, and this was his favorite food. The main character once again thinks that this guy looks like the boy she met in childhood. A little while later, she is already heading up the stairs and realizes that the interior work has already been done, but there is still some work to be done. And also, a knight's uniform is too simple and cheap a material for the strongest armed group of the empire. Lulutia realizes that she wants to change everything, and it would be impossible with just her pocket money, so it's time to think about finding an income. A little while later, one of the knights turns to Lady Brique and tells her that she has a guest waiting for her. The two are senior officers named Alt and Jarius. The main character asks if she really has a guest coming to see her. One of them answers that it is Diold Brique. The main character understands that it turns out that her father reacted like this. He sent Diold one of the knights, once again addresses the summer, and says that she looks gloomy. So he asks if he should let this guy, and Lulucha says no, and she will meet him, after which she asks to take Diold to the living room. Then the lady comes to the guy with red hair. He claims that when they detained him, he thought it was a great place. Well, it's so miserable there, and it ruins Brique's reputation. Lulutia says that they haven't seen Diold for a long time. The guy says that this is an unusual greeting, and asks why the lady doesn't return to the estate. He also asks if the lady knows how angry her father is, and if the temple is not her home. The girl claims that the estate is not her home either. Diold is furious at such words, and he says that if the girl doesn't want it the good way, then let her. Diold also tells her to be a good girl and asks if she hasn't been beaten for a long time. Well, at the same time, someone says that a guy should watch his language if he doesn't want to lose it forever. Lulutia understands that this is the commander, and Diold, turning to this guy, thinks who he is. Kaneshel comes up and sits down next to the girl. He apologizes for being late and says that he would also like to greet their guest. The guy also asks the lady if she minds if he stays there. Lulutia realizes that the commander now looks like a cute puppy, but when he turns to Diold, the girl thinks that now he looks like a huge, ferocious dog. The young lady's brother wonders what's wrong with this guy since he showed up so unexpectedly, but he still thinks that he should be patient since his uncle told him not to create unnecessary problems with the temple. The red-haired boy addresses the girl as a match, but then corrects himself and calls her by her name and asks if she wants him to give her something nice. The main character asks what he means, and the guy replies that she knows that he has a gold mine and he bought a rich gold mine at a good price. He understands that no matter how you look at it, it seems like he was cheated. This is an abandoned mine that hasn't produced a single piece of iron in 3 years, let alone gold. And the guy, of course, has a low opinion of her. But does he really think that she will return home for this? Diold claims that he will sell her this big gold mine. So let the lady go home. The main character thinks what kind of deal this is, but at that moment, some voice addresses her, and he claims that this is a crystal mine and that black crystals will flow from there like a river. Diold doesn't know about it yet. The main character turns around in shock and tells the lady to wait. Well, when she does that, she realizes that she's gone. Lulua also thinks that it's the voice from her dream. Diold turns to the girl and asks her what she is doing and where she is looking. He claims in any case that he will give this mine to the girl for a good price, so let her decide. Lulua wonders if this abandoned mine is rich in crystals. It's hard to believe, but she was able to go so far by being carried away by her dreams. Kanchel turns to the lady and she thinks that it's good, and she will believe once more. The main character claims that she will think about it and simply cannot ignore such a generous gift. Diold asks if this is true and tells the lady to remember, because she promised. He also claims that this is good and suggests that the lady prepare for her return, while the girl asks if they shouldn't draw up a contract. A little while later, the girl claims that due to the above conditions, the gold mines of Brique, as well as all resources extracted, there will be transferred to Brique. The main character says that it is good, and the signature is placed, so she will give him the check. Diold is happy about this and immediately grabs the contract, after which he offers to return to the estate. But the girl asks why, after which he claims that she herself said so. Lulua replies that yes, she thought about it, but she doesn't want to, and she would prefer to stay in the temple. The girl then says goodbye to Diold and claims that it was a good deal, but the guy only gets angry and screams, "How dare this brat deceive him?" At that very moment, Kanchel grabs the guy by the arm and then throws him to the floor. He also claims that he already told him to watch his language. Diold wonders if this guy is really that strong. Moreover, its overwhelming power completely eclipses the magic of the most powerful flame of the Empire, that is the magic of Brique. At this time, the main character turns to the commander and asks him to stop because he can harm this guy. Kanchel stops even then, but then takes Diold and throws him towards the door, and also tells him to know that only the lady's mercy saved his life. The commander turns to Alt and Jarius and tells them to escort this guy. When they do this, Diold asks what they are doing and tells him to let him go, because he will go himself. When the guy leaves, he screams that they will see Lulua again and that the mine is trash. After all, no matter how much you dig there, it's all in vain. There will only be dirt, and she bought an abandoned mine. Kanchel's expression, she tells him that everything is fine, and asks if he can trust her this time. Several days have passed since that time. The main character realizes that, as Diold said, there really was nothing in the mine, and the lady thinks that maybe she really is useless, and also thinks whether she can be trusted. At the same moment, this lady turns to the girl again and claims that this mine is rich in black crystals. She has already told the lady everything that is necessary, so let her dear child go forward. Lulua understands that she wants to move on, but everything is so confusing. However, the girl understands that she can't wait either because she is running out of money. A little while later, the blonde man states that this is the end of the report, and he will go. Kanchel says it's clear, and he did a good job. Crone tells the commander about Lady Brique. Kanchel immediately asks what he wants from her and whether she really bothered someone. The blonde replies that this is not the case at all and suggests that the commander calm down. He also states that the lady looks very exhausted. The main character sighs at this time. The maid immediately turns to her and asks if something has happened. Lulua replies that no, and asks why the maid thought so, to which she replies that the lady sighs all the time and they went for a walk to unwind. While the lady still looks depressed, Lulua replies that she is very sorry and did not want to make Sui worry. The maid replies that the lady can always count on her, and the main character tells everything. The maid asks if the problem is really about money, to which the lady replies that her interlocutor claims that she knew it. The maid says that the lady even bought a gold mine, and she replies that she also talks about it. Well then, Sui turns to the miss and says that the late lady left her an inheritance and a crystal comb, so maybe she uses it. The main character wants to object, but the maid claims that this comb was left to her personally, so there will be no problems. Lulutia replies that yes, but asks if she deserves it. She also remembers how her father said that if it weren't for her, Petcha wouldn't have fallen into eternal sleep. Now the girl is downcast and the maid turns to the miss, after which she asserts that she is the only one who has the right to own this comb, so she should do as she wants. Lulutia thinks how much she wants Ani, and much time later, they find themselves in front of the door of the Eastern Empire Bank. Lulutia realizes that she thought she would just come in and ask, but it seems like everything is too serious. When they came in, one of the workers, as soon as he saw the ID, brought her in the VIP room. Lulutia realizes that she didn't know it while she was locked up, but the Brique family is very powerful. A little while later, a consultant approaches them and asks the lady how he can help. The girl claims that she is looking for an inheritance that her mother entrusted to the Imperial Bank. The employee notes that it is good and suggests checking the data, and also that a certain procedure must be completed. After which, the guy puts it down the comb into the box, and symbols begin to appear on it. The worker claims that everything is correct, and that Mrs. Brique's will is engraved on the comb. The main character asks if he is talking about his mother's will, to which he replies that yes, and it says that when her daughter brings this comb, it is necessary to hand her the secret safe, so he will now lead the lady to Mrs. Petchi's safe. A little while later, the main character asks if all this is really her mother's inheritance. The guy replies that it is so. And from now on, the owner of this safe is Lulutai Brique. The maid tells the lady that it is wonderful and let her just imagine how much she can do. After all, the lady left her so much inheritance? Well then, Sui looks at the lady's expression, and she wonders why she looks so sad. A little while later, the main character walks through the garden and realizes that she is unhappy even though she has a lot of money. Lulutia was shocked when she learned about her mother's will, and what was even more surprising was that she left such a huge inheritance. At this time, the girl also notices the commander and wonders what he is doing there. The guy replies that he received a call from the emperor and was about to leave. He also wonders if the lady was offended by someone, and she replies that she was not. Well, if the emperor himself is calling him, then he should hurry. Kainshal says that the lady looks like she's about to cry, after which he takes her hand and claims that if something is bothering the lady, he asks her to share it with him. Lulutia remembers her father screaming that if they use this little one, maybe Petcha will be resurrected. Lulutia realizes that for a long time now, every time she heard her father's accusations, she thought of one thing. What would have happened if her mother had been alive? Kainshal at this time turns to Lady Brique and apologizes, but wonders who gave her this name. The girl replies that it was her mother, and she heard that she gave it to him before she went into eternal sleep. The guy says that it is clear, and also claims that in the ancient language, it is her name, means a beloved child, and she herself knows who gave it to her. The main character thinks that her mother paid for her life, and she couldn't even ask for a blessing, so she thought that her mother wouldn't love her. Kainshal says that he made the lady even sadder. He also wipes away her tears and tells the girl not to cry. A little while later, the maid asks the miss what happened, and also what's wrong with her eyes. Sui asks if someone was really making fun of the lady, and she answers that the maid shouldn't worry because nothing happened. But Da says that she doesn't believe it, after which the main character turns to Sui, and she claims that she thinks that tomorrow she will go to the bank, because now she will be able to do it with dignity, accepting her mother's legacy. At this time, the Empress's maid writes something and realizes that Prince Glenn's letter is late. This lady's name is Marilyn. She also hopes that nothing happened, but at that very moment, she hears someone knocking on her room. Merlin asks who is there, after which the maid comes in and says that the Empress is calling the lady. The blonde asks if she received the report, after which the maid states that the matter is that Hesios, that is the second prince, has caused a stir. Again, Merlin is surprised, and he thinks that he probably needs to take his anger out on someone again. The current empress has displaced the previous one and held power in her hands. Her final decision was to pass the title of crown prince to her son Hesios. Well, she didn't succeed there either, because the son of the previous empress, the first Prince Glenn, and also a master of the sword, is the best suited for the role of heir. So she did something mean and sent Glenn to guard the far north of the empire. Now she has no choice but to get mad about her own son's exit. Uses magic and creates a bird that will deliver the letter. Merlin also understands that this is why the lady keeps the best water mage in the empire with her, because she is able to harness the power of Hesios. The main thing is that her relationship with Glenn does not become known, because when the Empress finds out about their connection, well, when the lady goes further, she suddenly collides with the commander of the knightly order and begins to fall. Cainshel grabs the lady and asks if she is okay, to which she replies that she just tripped. The girl wonders if this is the leader of the barbarian priests, and also wonders why he is there. But then she realizes that it's probably time to take her medicine, and the Empress's watchdog is watching her subordinates, and also has a dark past, but she doesn't care about it, so the lady apologizes but claims that it's time for her to go. As the girl moves on, the guy turns to her and states that he feels that she is very worried. And if she needs something, she can always come to the Temple of Crescenta, because listening to people's concerns is their duty. Merlin asks if the barbarian priest is offering her help, to which he replies that yes, his subordinates will help her. But the girl then turns to the commander and asks if he knew that magicians do not believe in gods. They trust only their own strength. But the funny thing is that Sir Cainshel sees right through it. After which she says goodbye to him, and the guy thinks that this is rather unceremonious. And while he was talking to her, he almost forgot why he came. He has his own things to do. The Holy Father is waiting his medicine. A little while later, he is already returning to church. The officers ask if everything went well, to which the guy replies that it did, and asks if everything is okay there. One of them replies that, of course, because he sealed everything with a barrier, and no one can remove it. The guy with red hair claims that it is safer there now than in the palace, but the commander says that he is so frivolous. He also starts to remove the seal, and then the door opens. The guy claims that he will give it to him and return, after which he begins to descend into the basement well. As soon as he goes further, he sees various plants, after which he approaches the Holy Father and tells him about it. The guy opens the medicine and then gives it to the Holy Father. The woman finally comes to her senses and then turns to Commander Encritter. Christine also asks how long she slept this time, to which the guy replies that it was 10 days. The woman claims that this period is getting longer and longer, and she also causes the guy a lot of anxiety. Cainshel says that not at all, and it is his duty. But the Holy Father says how stubborn he is, and he has become nicer than in childhood. The woman also claims that she wanted to ask, "How did Lady Brique's wedding go?" Well, the guy is silent after that, and then he remembers the events of that day. He claims that everything didn't go as planned, and now the woman at this time thinks about what's wrong with the guy's face. And he continues and claims that, fortunately, Lady Brique is now under the protection of the temple, and the woman then asks if this is good. And he claims that he seems to be sincerely in love. The guy in response asks her to stop, and the woman asks how long he has loved her. At this time, the young man thinks about what happened 10 years ago. Someone approached Her Holiness and claimed that it was already completely dark, and she might stumble, so he asked her to stop. Another knight said that this was true, and that they should return to the temple, but the woman insisted that it was impossible. After all, albeit very faintly, she heard the voice of the goddess, and in her prophecy, she said that in this forest, the child would need help. The woman also asked to forgive her for being so stubborn, but at that very moment, someone shouted for everyone to go there. "There is a child lying there." When the woman looked at him, she thought, how is that possible? And also, who could do this to a child, because he is covered in wounds? One of the knights claimed that it seemed that he was a test subject of magical experiments, and the woman said that they had little time, so she would heal him herself. A little while later, the boy came to his senses, and the lady asked him how he was feeling, and also suggested that he be patient a little longer. But the boy's first words were to Miss Lulutai. Now the woman claims that it was so sad to see him calling her, and she cured him out of the kindness of her heart, but she couldn't even imagine that he possessed holy powers, and he recovered so quickly. The woman also apologizes for speaking only now, but when she learned that the lady was getting married, she replaced the high priest with him. So the guy was able to save his beloved from trouble. So let the Commander Encritter not miss his chance to win her love. The woman also suggests that the guy tell everything to the girl, but he claims that this is impossible. Christine asks why too, which he replies that it is better for her not to know that he was that same Rhett. After all, she doesn't need a despised magical slave. The woman then turns to the guy and claims that the Church of Crescenta doesn't recognize the system of magical slaves, so he is not a slave. The guy claims that aristocrats attach great importance to status, and he won't bring her happiness, but the woman thinks how stubborn this guy is. Well, it is obvious that he is sad, after which she asks who this guy was born from. The young man then claims that she raised him herself. Well, after this, the woman says that it's already so late that he should come back, because old people always talk a lot. And when he comes next time, let him bring this girl with him, to which the guy replies that he will try. A little while later, he is already leaving the basement and thinking about coming with the lady. He realizes that it is like meeting the parents. Well, then the guy also sees the main character, and the girl asks if this is really the commander. Kanchel thinks that if Crone were there, he would laugh until he cried, and tell the commander to simply confess to this lady. Now, the guy asks if the lady decided to go for a walk, to which she replies that she was looking for Sui. Kanchel smiles even after that, and the lady thinks that his smile is so warm and unusual, it feels like people are treating you well. When she gave all her strength into the vessel, she thought that this time she would definitely fall into eternal sleep. The guy at this point turns to the lady and claims that the sun is setting, so it will get colder. He also says that maybe it would be better for her to go inside. The girl just thinks that if only this moment could last forever, then she agrees. A little while later, the lady again sees the girl who told her about the mine and claims that this is how it all happened. Her interlocutor smiles and says that even her heart is pounding. After all, first there was a kiss, then a proposal, and now the guy has arranged a date for her. The main character replies that everything is not so simple. He is very nice, and she kissed him only because she found out about the future. The girl thinks it's a little awkward that she called their meeting a date, but then she looks at the book and realizes that there is no word about them falling in love with each other, after which she turns to the lady, and she asks if this book now belongs to her, to which her interlocutor replies that this is true, but she claims that it is not hers, but let the child listen to what she has already said about telling her everything she could. But it is up to her to decide how exactly to change her destiny, after which the girl wonders what the lady will do now. The main character thinks that she wants to live and share her happiness with the commander. If that book is to be believed, he is eventually destined to fall into eternal sleep, and she can't sit back knowing this. Her interlocutor at this time says that it's good, and then Luluti, you'll have to try really hard. A little while later, the maid says how great it was that they used the lady's comb. After all, with this money, they will be able to decorate the temple and even start some business. The blonde asks if they are talking about business, and the maid claims that the lady has entrepreneurial talent. Once a successful merchant even praised her crone, says that this is how, thanks to the lady, the temple really does become more beautiful. So she really is good, to which the maid replies that she is simply magnificent. The main character is embarrassed by such praise, but at the same moment she hears some noise. Crone asks if something really happened there. Well, when they look in that direction, they see Diold waving his fists and screaming that the guy will pay for disappointing him. The main character wonders why Diold is there, and the guy who is talking to him claims that the gentleman demanded the impossible. Diold immediately starts using his power and asks if it is really his fault. He also screams that the guy does not even have magic, so how dare he contradict him? The main character immediately stands in front of this guy and screams for Diold to stop. The guy with red hair asks if it's a match, and the lady asks what he's doing, and he's torturing an innocent person. Lulutia asks if Brique's magic can only be used for this. After this, the guy screams that a brat like her won't teach him. Crone immediately defends the lady and says that he is just crazy. Some people ask if this guy is completely crazy and uses magic right in the middle of the street. Else wonders if such behavior is worthy of an aristocrat. The guy with red hair only curses after this, and then he screams out that they will see each other again, and he spared Lulutia only this time. When he leaves, the blonde asks if they are okay, and claims that it is better to leave there, until the guards started bothering them. And the main character just thinks about the fact that every time Diold gets angry, he throws flames. His fire is capable of melting ore, and is the pride of the Brique family. The girl is also thinking about something, after which he keeps asking Sir Crone if he could contact the commander. Balandon, at this time, agrees, and the maid suggests the mistress not to come too close to the fire. The main character at this time thinks that her version of Islam said that she knows everything that is needed, and maybe if Diold still owned that mine, he would get angry that it was useless and start throwing fire, after which he would melt the ore and find black crystals. So the main character claims that she wants to set the mine on fire. The maid Datova is surprised, and a little while later, the blonde man is in the mine and claims that he knew that Lady Brique was very talented. Well, looking at all these crystals, he claims that it is simply magnificent. The guy also turns to one of the workers and asks if these are all precious stones. He replies that yes, they were hidden under the almatolite. It melted from the fire and crystals appeared there. And if they hadn't made a fire there, they would have missed all this wealth. The guy then looks at one of the crystals and asks if it's really him, to which the worker replies that of course, and asks if the gentleman sees how he reacts to magic. There is only one such stone in the whole world, and it is a black crystal. The guy says that it is true, and that it is his specialty. Crone also thinks that they should be found in a randomly bought mine. The maid at this time tells them to just look at this glow, and it must be the goddess herself who led them there. After which she turns to her, and the main character comes out of her thoughts. She apologizes but claims that she simply remembered Gaston's. After which the maid says that if he were there, he would immediately start talking about trade. At this time, Crone asks who Gaston is, and the maid asks if he has heard of him. After all, this guy is an exceptionally talented merchant. All the best enterprises of the Brique family. He was the one who founded it. This guy taught her mistress a lot well. She wonders where he is now. After which, the main character turns to Mr. Crone and asks if he really wanted to say something about him. The guy, a little puzzled, replies that a man recently came to the temple and he was looking for a lady. This man looks suspicious and they put him in jail. But it seems his name was Gaston. The main character then screams, "What is he talking about?" A little while later, the girl heads off in a carriage. But he wonders why Gaston appeared so suddenly and is still in prison, but in it, the knights torture criminals. The main character asks Sir Crone if Gaston is okay, to which he replies that he doesn't know. And he asked about the lady too many times, so the commander didn't like it. The main character thinks that if he is seriously angry, then things are bad, after which she screams for the carriage to go faster. A little while later, they arrive at the estate, and the red-haired knight says that they are already back. But the main character immediately grabs him by the clothes, and then tells Sir Alt to immediately release that man from the dungeon. But the young man is only interested in who it is, to which the lady replies that she is talking about Gaston. Daenerys claims that the commander is now interrogating him, and the main character asks where they are. The guy asks if the lady wants to go down there, to which the girl replies that yes. The guy then says that this is determination and agrees, and a little while later, they are already going down into the dungeon. When the brunette notices that the lady is worried, he tells her not to worry because it's just a regular interrogation. Alt replies that this is true, and the commander is very good at this, so he will not put him into eternal sleep. Well, at that very moment, the main character hears someone screaming that this is not true. She also understands that it is Gaston's voice. The guy at this time tells the commander that it is not so, and he doesn't even imagine that on the entire continent and in their entire history, there has never been a more wonderful person. Because Miss Lulutai is a real miracle, Kainshal claims that he says the right things, after which the young man with red hair almost laughs and apologizes to the commander for interrupting him. He also claims that this man is a friend of the lady, and she even went straight down there. When Gaston sees a girl, he is happy about her, and the main character says how much he has suffered. The guy replies that it's all nonsense, but he has a question, after which he asks the lady if she remembers what time means to a merchant. Lulucha replies that time is money, and the guy hugs her and says that this is true because this is his very first lesson. A little while later, they emerge from the dungeon, and the guy states that it's time for him to introduce himself properly. The merchant removes his mask and claims that he is Gaston of the Asfat family, and that he is infinitely faithful to Miss Luluti Brique. The main character then remembers how the guy told her about the merchant's craft. Well, when the young lady's father saw this, Gaston was immediately taken away. The man claimed that he had warned that he should teach Diold, and not this brat. The main character then claims that his expectations will be rewarded and asks if he wants to trade black crystals with hers. A little while later, the guy is already writing something down and asks if the lady has already chosen the type of products. The girl replies that she hasn't yet. After which, the guy claims that if you make various figurines from the crystals, you can sell them to the nobility. This is an expensive and difficult to process mineral, so this is the most suitable option. The main character replies that she does not know and understands that such products will be highly valued. Even one can fetch a tidy sum, but buyers will have to search for a long time. Lulutia claims that they will be incredibly expensive, and not everyone will be able to afford such a thing. After which, the guy asks, what about the jewelry? The main character at this time remembers how one of the miners, he was surprised and said that it was the first time he saw such abundance, because there was no end to this crystal. The main character asked if there really were that many of them, to which he just smiled and claimed that they could easily be mined there for another 100 years. And he will even have time to pass on the business to his son. Lulutia claims that her mine will not dry up for a long time, so there is no reason to save on materials. The merchant claims that the lady is right and that jewelry will not suit her. These crystals are valued primarily for their reaction to the presence of demons, and beautiful public can be made from other stones. The demon's aristocrat is usually not found, to which the lady replies that this is true. But then she wonders if these crystals really react to demons, after which she remembers how someone asked the gentleman if he saw what light was coming from the crystal. He also claimed that they react even more strongly to demonic magic, which is why black crystals are so valuable. The girl also gets up from her seat and claims that she has come up with an idea. Knights will become their buyers. The nobility does not encounter demons, but the knights fight them, and the number of demons grows every year. If their lairs are regularly eliminated, the cities will be safe. Knights who travel between cities are a tasty morsel for demons, and if they make amulets from black crystals for them, then they will be able to notice the demons in time. And if you hang such an amulet near the coachman's seat, he will be able to avoid meeting demons without the help of mercenaries. The guy claims that this is not bad and the demand for them will be high. A small crystal will also work for the amulet, so this will reduce the price. And when the news of this spreads across the continent, there will be no end of clients. Gaston takes the lady by the hand, and she claims that her mind is simply exceptional and that it will be simply a magnificent undertaking. Well then, he also asks the lady what she calls their product, to which the girl replies that she is not sure and says that she might call the amulet Shimmer. A little while later, someone in the guild shouts for people to keep in line. Another merchant tells those who want to buy the Shimmer to come forward. At this time, one of the buyers claims that he listened to the Knight Camelius. With the help of this thing, escaped from the demon. Someone else claims that it seems like this amulet glows in the direction where the demon is sitting, after which they scream for 30 pieces. But the other one claims that he will pay 3 times more if they deliver it to him first. The guy with red hair then asks them to come up one by one. The main character is sitting in her office at this time. Gaston turns to the lady and asks if she has rested after what she did. He also claims that a military campaign is approaching, and there are more and more demons. Many people want to buy their product. The main character then says that there are so many orders. Gaston says that this is a real success, because let her just look at the sales. And the name of the amulet is very suitable, because people have already started using it as a fashionable word. The main character is embarrassed by this, but then says that it is all thanks to Gaston's. The guy replies that not at all, and that it is the lady's merit, otherwise he would have started selling figurines. The guy claims that the guild is also developing quickly thanks to their amulets, and that Miss Lulutia should be made its owner. While the main character replies that, no, this guild belongs to him, and she is fine in the role of sponsor. And besides, the girl thinks that she has no more than a year to live. Gaston says that the guild members are also delighted with her talents, so let the lady think about it. Well then, the maid tells him not to try to convince the lady, because she is known to be stubborn. Sui also says that the lady has done such a job, so she can be proud of herself. But the main character replies that she is exaggerating. The maid claims that she is still happy for her mistress, but she was so worried about her weddings. But everything worked out well, so the lady can handle anything. The main character then turns to Sui, but the maid says the main thing is that the lady is happy. Lulutia notices that she is shaking, after which they see the maid fall and scream in shock at her. A little while later, they are already fixing the maid's bed. The main character turns to Sir Crone and asks if she will recover, to which the guy replies that it is difficult to say now. After all, it could be overwork. But then he sees some kind of mark on the maid's hand, and he claims that it is a high-level curse. He also turns to the lady and asks who she thinks could have done this. The main character understands that this is the curse of the black snake, and most likely this is a warning from her father, that if she doesn't come back, then her maid will fall into eternal sleep. The girl thinks that he won't even have to interfere, because he knows that she will come back for Sui, after which the main character apologizes, but claims that she must immediately return to the Brique estate. The guy asks why so suddenly, and the main character replies that only the father can remove this curse, so we need to try to convince him to do it. Well, the blonde replies that no, and he tried to sell her as a slave, to which the lady replies that it is so. But if she does not return, then her father will take Sui's life. The girl also asks Sir Crone if he is not afraid for her, after which he looks at the lying maid. Well, he no longer tries to stop the main character. Lulua claims that she is eternally grateful to all the knights and their commander. The time spent there was the happiest, but she can't allow Sui to fall into eternal sleep because of her. Well, at that very moment, someone else comes into the room and tells the lady to wait. The main character asks if it is the commander, and he only apologizes for eavesdropping. But he asks if the lady can trust him with this. The main character thinks that maybe with the help of the commander's powers, it will be possible to lift the curse, after which the guy begins to use his power, but then the curse tries to defend itself. Cainshel grits his teeth and the main character cries out in concern, as if to the commander, after which he says that everything is fine. The guy also understands that now that the lady is finally smiling, he will not allow her to cry again. The blonde then thinks about the commander, and also sees that the maid is waking up. The main character immediately turns to Sui and asks if she is awake. The maid only apologizes to the miss, but Lulua says that the main thing is that she is alive, after which the lady turns to the commander, and she also pulls him towards her, and with tears in her eyes thanks him for saving the lady. But at that very moment, the main character understands what position they are in, and immediately moves away and apologizes. Cainshel claims that he only did what he had to, and the curse is broken, but he thinks it's time for them to go now. The main character thanks the guy, but when he leaves the room with the knight, then he immediately falls to the floor, after which the blonde asks if the commander is okay. Cainshel suggests that he speak more quietly, because they can be heard, and also, he just feels dizzy. The blonde then says, "Of course it was Brique's curse, so how can you destroy it without preparation?" Crone also claims that he could have gotten into big trouble, but the guy replies that one time won't do any harm. He also asks if the guy is worried about him, after which the blonde claims that, by the way, he could perform the ritual on him alone. But Cainshel claims that he couldn't watch the lady cry, so he wanted to quickly bring back her smile. Now the guy looks out the window and in his mind asks the lady if she knows what he wants, and he hopes that a smile will always shine on her face from now on. At this time, the young lady's father claims that it has disappeared. He also asks who dared to break the curse he had placed on the maid. Diold turns to his uncle, but he only throws a vase of water at him, and he screams that he told them not to call him that, after which the guy apologizes to the Duke. He also claims that when he was in the temple, there was a very powerful magician there. He could have broken the curse. The man then only sighs and claims that he offered the lady a good chance to return to the estate, and she hides under the cloak of the barbarians. So what an impudent girl she is. The guy replies that that's exactly it, and she even founded a business with that idiot Gaston. This girl has crossed all boundaries, so she doesn't have long left. The guy then turns to his father, and he asks if they can first try to catch her and sell her for a higher price, after which he asks to give him another chance. But the man asks what can the one who was thrown out of the temple, due to which he replies that the knights will not always be there, and he will only take advantage of the opportunity. A little while later, the main character turns to Sui and claims that she has only just recovered, and also her only task is to rest. But the maid tells the miss that she has already rested enough and asks what kind of maid this is, who is being looked after by her mistress Lulua, replies that she, unlike her, is in perfect order. And besides, Sui is just my servant because she owes her a lot. But the maid claims that she lay there all morning, and if she is lazy, then who will do the cleaning and washing? The main character then turns to the girl again, and she says that it's okay, because she's not able to resist the lady. Lulua confirms that she just wants to take care of her, and is sorry that she can't do more for her. Sui suggests the lady not to say that, but the lady replies that it is true. The maid then wants to say that the lady saved her this time too. But the main character thinks that she could do nothing while she was suffering. And if it weren't for the commander, who knows what could have happened? The girl also thinks that everyone cares about her. She would like to give them as much, even though she is destined to disappear soon. Much time later, the maid is already fully recovered. The main character says that she is so glad that she got better, and the maid replies that yes, and it is all thanks to her. And just lying around doing nothing is very boring. Then these two also notice the officers. The main character wonders if this is Sir Alt and Sir Jarius and what they are doing there. Alt tells the guy to put his hair up because he can't see anything, but Jarius asks what he can do, and also let the guy drink more milk since he is not tall enough. The guy with red hair then wonders if it is difficult for him, after which he moves it all away and says that now he can see. He also looks out onto the street, and he asks why a lady from the palace suddenly came there and whether she came there on some business. Jarius asks where he saw imperial affairs discussed so openly, but Alt claims that then it is even stranger. And if she didn't come there on assignment, then why? The guy also says how lucky the commander is. But at the same moment, the main character turns to these two. Alt asks Lady Brique what happened, and the main character wonders what they are doing there. Alt doesn't even know how to tell her. And another officer claims that the commander has a guest, and they are watching them. Lulua asks if they are talking about the area, and then looks at this girl. Jarius claims that it is rare that the Empress's people come to them, and besides this is the White Lily herself, Merlin. The main character asks if she is the White Lily, and also thinks, what if it is Merlin? Then it turns out that she is the real main character of this story. Lulua also understands that she saw her. Cainshel asks what the lady said, and she replies that Commander and Carter is quite popular. She also asks why he is being modest, and whether she really embarrassed him. Well, everything is clear, after which she turns the guy's head towards the window where the main character is standing and tells him to look over there. After all, it seems that this young lady is very worried about him, and she is so sweet. And she also thinks that her character suits her face. She also heard that this lady was now living in the temple, and wondered what made him keep this lady with him. The main character thinks that there can be no mistake, because this lady has golden hair and emerald eyes. This is the main character from the book, from her dream, the one who can do miracles. And in this book, she was just a pathetic character, plunging into eternal sleep in the background. White Lily is the main character of the story. She is beautiful wet, and was also the best water mage in the Empire, and two people were in love with her. Glen Roberto, that is the first prince and master of the sword, as well as the highest holy knight in the Empire. About the name Cainshel and Crater. Merlin loved Cainshel, but he lied that he already had a loved one, her several times. In the end, Marilyn had nothing left but to stay with Glen. Lulua thinks that after that, until Cainshel's eternal sleep, she hid a sad love for another in her soul. The reason for his refusal of Merlin was not revealed in the book. Well, if you believe the text, then in the end he also fell in love with her. The girl thinks that maybe he still has feelings for her, but she still thinks how strange it is and how natural it is. So why is she in so much pain? Then the main character turns to Sir Alt at Sir Jarius, and also claims that she thinks she will go. Alt asks if the lady is already leaving, and won't even say hello to the commander, because it looks like Merlin is already leaving. After this, the main character looks at the blonde, and then starts to run away. Merlin thinks that she even seems to think that this stern knight is very important to her. She also offers the commander to continue their conversation, but he apologizes. However, he claims that he has important things to do. The girl wonders what is wrong with him, and understands that maybe she should keep an eye on both of them. Merlin says that the commander is so heartless with his guests, but she actually came to him because of this, after which the lady takes out a flask with something, but the guy just snatches it from the girl's hands. Merlin asks if he won't even say thank you, after which the guys answer that he is grateful to her, but he asks not to come so suddenly again, because people from the palace are extremely rare guests in the temple. He also says that it is time for the lady to go back, to which she agrees. The guy at this time turns to the window. and also looks there sadly. Merlin thinks that one only has to look at the face of this cold-blooded soldier. A little while later, she is already writing something down and realizes that the guy is so cold, but he cares about his loved ones. He combines goodness and great strength and is also the highest holy knight of the empire. The girl wanted to attract him to her side, but she ran into a problem, so she thinks, who is this girl who was in the window? And if even Cainshel, known for his coldness, is so protective, what kind of person is she? The lady thinks how curious she is. Sui at this time turns to the miss and tells her not to forget her bag, just in case she put some shimmer in there, and if she got hungry, she made her sandwiches. And the lady is going out somewhere alone for the first time. Well, since the commander will be with her, she will be calm. The maid also whispers in Mrs. Ear that she secretly wanted to buy him a gift. The main character replies that yes, but claims that he forbade her to go out alone. The guy claimed that it was dangerous for her alone and said that he had to accompany her. Cainshel turns to the lady and says that it is time for them to go, to which she agrees, and then says goodbye to the maid. She also whispers to her that she wants to have a good date, and then leaves. Sui wonders what she's talking about. Well, when he turns to the knight, he realizes that he is standing there all red. Crone then turns to the lady and asks if they will go. The main character at this time goes outside and realizes that there are so many people there. When she gets off the carriage, the guy extends his hand to her and asks where they are going. Lulua realizes that every time they meet each other's eyes, he smiles so sweetly, after which she invites him to try to guess, to which the guy replies that he is not very good at such things. The lady smiles and states that she wants to go into one of the boutiques. She also asks if she can count on his help today. The guy replies that as many as he wants. A little while later, he puts on one of the shells and claims that he did as the lady asked. Well, then he thinks that she told him to change clothes, but then went off somewhere. At this point, the main character appears from behind his back and says that it suits the guy. Cainshel then says that here she is and asks if she is going to, but the girl at the same moment says that they will buy all of this. She also says that she will pay, but then the merchant notices the cross in her bag. And then he says that there is one more coin missing. When they leave the store, the lady asks if the prices have really gone up that much. Cainshel says that the man simply noticed his cross. The main character asks what's wrong with Togo, and the guy replies that the Empire doesn't really like holy knights. Lulua remembers that Sir Crone also said something similar. The guy claimed that they don't have good opposition in the Empire, so they hardly receive donations. The girl thinks that they often encounter such treatment, and the guy claims so, which by the way has happened worse, so everything is fine. Lulua asks if it is true that he is not bothered by having to stay there because of the sanctuary. The guy claims that it looks like the lady already knows the reason for their presence there, to which the lady replies that yes, but she is not sure if it is worth such sacrifices, and let it be their sanctuary. But the guy interrupts the lady and claims that they are used to the rudeness of the locals. And besides, without them, this holy place could simply disappear from the face of the earth. But the main character says that it seems like they have a very hard time, which makes the guy smile and claims that he is just doing his duty. At this time, the main character pays attention to the lilies and also remembers Marilyn. The girl then turns to the commander and claims that it is a little rude of her, but still asks who the lady is who came to the temple. Cainshel asks if she is talking about Lady Merlin, to which the main character replies that yes, and he wonders if she can ask the reason for her appearance. The guy at this time thinks about the Holy Pope and the medicine that Marilyn brought, after which he apologizes completely, but claims that he cannot talk about this summer. The girl replies that it's okay, and he doesn't have to answer, but then she becomes a little depressed. At this time, someone else approaches the young gentleman and asks if he is on a date. The merchant claims that it looks like they had a fight, and she is clearly upset with the lady. She also often quarreled with her husband in her youth. But these are all minor details. The guy then says that she misunderstood when he looks at the flowers. He wonders if the girl really remembered Marilyn. When he saw the lilies, he asked the woman if he could buy a bouquet of these pink flowers from hers. The shop owner asks if it is a gift, and then asks him to wait a minute. A little while later, Cainshel turns to the lady and states that he doesn't like lilies anymore, and these pink flowers look like her hair. Lulua realizes that they really do look like her hair, and thanks the commander for such a wonderful gift. The girl understands that now he prefers pink flowers to white lilies. Well, he can always change his mind because in the book he was in love with Marilyn. Therefore, it is better to get rid of these hopes. The girl also turns to the commander, after which she claims that it seems to her that Sir Crone and Sui are in love with each other, and the guys wonder if everything is mutual. After all, it seems to him that Crone doesn't deserve her, but the main character says that he is a good person, and it will be great if everything works out for them. Then the lady also notices some crowd and asks, "What is going on there?" Lulucia thinks, "Why are there so many people there?" She also sees a poster and realizes that it is an announcement of a military expedition. Every 3 years before the sowing season, the army clears out the demon nests. The expedition members go to Jotunbria, which is the abode of demons, for a whole month and destroy them. It is very dangerous, but for a demon immersed in eternal sleep, you can get magic stones. And this is also the only chance to become famous for many people. And the main character claims that it seems that her father also participated in this. The lady also turns to the commander and asks if the Holy Knights will participate in the campaign. The guy replies that they always participate there, and that is one of the reasons why they are allowed to stay in the Empire. After all, only holy power can completely destroy a demon. Lulucia says that it turns out that they will go too, but wonder if people don't treat them better for their efforts. The guy replies that no, after which the main character asks why, and he replies that all the expedition's victories belong to the Emperor. Lulutia asks in what sense. The guy replies that he doesn't want the knights to receive any benefit from this. The main character asks why he doesn't even reward them, and the guy replies that she herself saw what state the temple was in. Lulucha claims that she simply has no words, and holy power is needed to plunge into the eternal sleep of the demon, but they are still treated so terribly. Therefore, there is no gratitude for all their merits. Cainshel claims that they have already gotten used to it, so everything is fine. But the main character thinks, how can this be? After all, it's not enough that everyone disdains the knights. Even their help in clearing out the demons is of no value, and they simply take advantage of the fact that the sanctuary is located in the Empire. At this time, the guy turns to the lady, but she only says that she is so sorry, and she thought that they were living well, and also that their merits are appreciated. The guy then apologizes, but the lady claims that he has nothing to apologize for, because the inhabitants of the Empire are to blame for this. Cainshel claims that the lady was upset by this conversation. He hoped that their walk would please her. Lulucha asks why, because he gave her such beautiful flowers, and it made her happy. The girl realizes that maybe she wants too much. I wish this moment could last forever. While she is there, she wants to please him as often as possible, no matter what the cost. A little while later, the girl finds herself in a dream again, and her other version tells the lady to pass. She also claims that the girl came to her for the first time. The main character claims that she wanted to ask something. Her other version claims that she seems to understand what she is talking about, and the lady needs the book. Lulutia replies that yes, and she wants to know about Magnolia only thanks to this book. She was able to change her destiny and now wants to help the commander. And she also hopes that nothing bad will happen on this trip. Her interlocutor asks if she is talking about Cainshili Encritor, and why suddenly. The girl asks if it is because he helped her. Lulucha answers that he is simply a very important person to her, and as long as she is with him, she will do everything to make him happy. The lady says that since she wishes it, let her come, and she will show her the next page. At this time, the guy asks if only holy knights should enter the final battle, after which he claims that he cannot allow this, but the Duke tells Commander Encritor not to make noise. After all, this is the final decision. But the guy claims that he is sending them into eternal sleep. The man replies that this war is almost lost, and the knights are being unfairly humiliated, so he gives them a chance to fix everything. They will become their shield and cover their retreat, because they are just barbarians. That's the best they're good for. The guy gets angry after that and grabs the Duke and screams that they can't fight properly just because they're holding up their supplies. The main character understands that this expedition will end very badly, and they will not cope with the task. All the sins will be blamed on Cainshel, who will be forced to bear this burden alone, returning to the capital at the end of this sad procession. He will suffer the harassment of angry warriors. The main character thinks that when he loses everything he had, he will come to Merlin. The lady's interlocutor claims that further events no longer have anything to do with Magnolia. Lulutia claims that she doesn't believe that these strong knights can lose, and wonders if demons are really that dangerous. Her interlocutor replies that the problem is not with demons, but with the terrible poverty of the knights. War is a battle of capital and resources, so to win, you need a fortune, but now. The knights can't cope with the war, and the lady said she wants to help Cainshel. After all, she has already changed her destiny twice, but for the sake of her loving heart, she will share her strength with her. First, you need to acquire all the necessary equipment, strong horses, and durable armor weapons. And let the girl pay special attention to weapons Canishelia. An ordinary knight will be able to use his power from a simple sword, but not Cainshel Encrater. Normal weapons will break immediately under the onslaught of his magic. Therefore, the lady will need a holy sword. The main character says that this is one of the balls of antiquity. Her interlocutor answers that in fact everything is a little different, after which she touches the map and says where the holy sword is. A little while later, the maid asks the mistress what she is talking about. And is the lady talking about the art competition? She also asks if the lady is going to participate in it herself. And the main character replies that no, and she will become a sponsor of some master and send him in her place. But the woman claims that the competition is very soon, and will the lady really have time to find such a person? Lulua tells her not to worry, because she has already found someone. The maid takes the paper and asks if she is talking about Primario, and if there is a good master in such a place. The main character replies that yes, and this is the person who will be able to get the prize for second place. A little while later, the red-haired guy asks if her great sculptor really lives there. The main character replies that yes, and she checked the brunette, then says that he knows that the lady has unrivaled intuition. It is interested. Is she sure that he will accept their offer? To which the lady notes that she is also worried about this, and Alt suggests threatening him. Lulua tells them to just be there and not have to interfere, and also let them trust her. Well, at that very moment, the person behind her opens the door and asks who they are. The main character asks if he is really Mr. Icarus, and the guy replies that a lady like her should not wander in this wilderness. So he asks to go back home, but the girl screams at him to wait. After which, he grabs the guy by the hand and also claims that she came to the best sculptor. She also asks Mr. Icarus if he will take part in the art competition if she becomes his sponsor. A little while later, they are already sitting on the couch, and the guy asks why they were looking for him. Lulua replies that she said that she wants to sponsor his work and would be glad if he takes part in the competition. The guy claims that this is looking more and more like a strange dream, and it seems that the lady does not understand how this competition works. This event is for the cream of high society and money talks. The more bribes they fly, the higher the chances of taking first place, so let the lady throw it. But the main character claims that she cannot return without him, after which she throws off the fabric from something. And he tells the guy to take a look, because only he is capable of creating such masterpieces. The main character thinks that she knows that this competition is just a game for the decaying aristocracy. No matter how talented you are without money, you will not get recognition even if your competitors exhibit rough pieces of marble. In this kingdom of injustice, no one cares about real art, and it has long been outside their sphere of interest. The reason she is interested in this rotten competition is the prize for second place, which is Michael's staff. At first glance, it seems unremarkable, but in the hands of a warrior with holy power, it will become a formidable weapon, and only this staff will be able to withstand the power of Cainshel, so she has to get it, and that's why she needs Icarus. The lady at this time turns to the guy and asks if all his works are made of tiny pieces of stones. The guy then asks how she guessed and whether she is also a sculptor, to which the lady replies that she is not, and she just looked at these sculptures carefully. At first glance, they seem like a monolith, but the port makes everything clear. After all, they are made up of different fragments, like a puzzle. Icarus cannot afford a good mother, so he works with different minerals. However, his sculptures seem to be uneven, and no one wants to sponsor him. The guy is a little surprised after this, and the lady asks him to think about her offer, and also to create a large and majestic sculpture entirely from one material. Let him surprise everyone with art that will have no equal. Well, the guy is wondering if anyone can be amazed by a marble sculpture, even if it is very large. Lulua claims that they will be amazed because she will deliver to him not marble, but black crystals. After this, the guy screams, "Is this really a shimmering crystal? And is this the first time he sees such a large crystal?" The main character asks if this is amazing, after which she asks to create a sculpture from large crystals for this competition. Icarus says that the lady is giving him the opportunity to use such a valuable material, so he is afraid that he cannot refuse. He is already full of ideas, so he will start work immediately, and maybe he will make this statue in the form of a golden dragon, which is the symbol of the empire. At this time, the maid turns to the miss and asks if everything worked out, and also if she needs to intervene. At this time, Alt asks the lady if she is sure that everything will work out, because at an art competition, you can't do without bribes, no matter how great the work is. But the girl claims that everything will be fine, because she is not chasing first place. A little while later, the girl is already heading in the carriage. The maid then turns to the miss and asks if she can ask something. The main character replies that yes, and the maid asks why the lady needs the second place. After all, they give Michael's staff for it, but it's simply useless, and she doesn't really trust this sculptor. The main character says that he can handle it, and sometimes you just have to sincerely believe in someone so that he blossoms like a beautiful flower. And in his thoughts, he adds that it is just like it was with her. When the lady met Cainshell a little while later, the Brique is standing under the door. He says that if he had known that he would have to go there again so soon, Lulua asks if Sir Jarius is okay, and if he is not in pain, to which he replies that he is not. Lulua says there is so much stuff there that she needed his help. The sculptor said to sharpen his knife first and then send him the materials. Jarius claims that he is only doing what he has to do, and even without the lady's request, he would have been sent to help him. The main character then thinks about how the sculptor takes the knights, and claims that it seems that Jarius also uses the commander's favorite phrase. He says he's just doing what he has to do. The guy then asks if that's true, and the main character replies that yes, and every time she asks him for help, he answers like that, so she owes him a lot. The brunette then starts to say that he is only doing what he has to do, but stops. Lulua smiles and says that he said it again, and also that he is a very good person, because even though she is a parasite, he cares about her. The guy claims that he believes in their goddess, and therefore sacrifices a lot for others. The main character says that this is where this phrase came from, and he says that the lady guessed correctly. Well, she still says that the inhabitants of the empire do not like knights, after which the guy remains silent, and the main character apologizes and claims that she went too far. Brand replies that not at all. Of course, many knights are upset about this situation, but he is not. As the girl knows the knights came from other lands, most of them trace their lineage back to the Holy Empire. That is why the imperial inhabitants do not like them, and among the knights there is only one outsider. This is him. His full name is Jarius Surfield, and he belonged to the aristocracy of the Eastern Empire and also attended the local academy. This was until he plunged his fellow students into eternal sleep and was expelled from the empire. The main character asks if he really put people into eternal sleep, to which he replies that yes, and he did it with 3. If it weren't for his young age and the help of the head of their church, he would have received a much more severe punishment. So now he has to pay back this debt, so he is not such a good person. Lulua claims that she understands how he feels, but he has kept something quiet. The girl asks why Her Holiness helped him, and just as he did not plunge those people into eternal sleep without reason, so she must have had her own motives. The brunette claims that the lady is very perceptive and sees right through him, but unfortunately, he cannot tell her this. A little while later, someone claims that they deserve to go into eternal sleep, and those idiots were worse than trash. The girl immediately asks the officer what he is saying, and he replies that the teenagers who fell into eternal sleep used their influence to bully the poor students. It seemed like no one cared, and only Jarius stood up for the victims every time. But one day, they crossed the line and attacked one of the students. When Jarius intervened, they pulled out guns, and it all ended badly. After this, the guy was kicked out of the family. The main character asks if he is really from the Surflid family, because that is his last name. The guy with red hair replies that this is true, and it seems that the Surfields are in charge of the Empire's army. The girl says yes, and they breed horses, after which the guy says that in general, Jarius was unlucky because the stigma of a bad person is worse than falling into eternal sleep. The main character says that she feels so sorry for him, but Alt claims that if his father had intervened, then this and everything could have been avoided, because those 3 were the ones who attacked first. Well, then they could blame the girl for everything, and Jarius refused his father's protection. He left his family, and his father, not even knowing the whole truth, turned away from him. But the main character says that this is too much, because the guy is his son. Alt says that this is true, but now they do not communicate, and Jarius does not regret it. They became enemies, and the connection between them was broken. The main character then says that Surfield is participating in an art competition, and what if they suddenly meet? At this time, the sculptor approaches these two and asks what they are talking about. The main character greets Icarus and asks how his work is progressing. The guy replies that it turns out to be a real masterpiece, and the lady claims that she has no doubts because she is sure that this competition will be remembered by everyone. On the day of the competition, the lady thinks that this is how she imagined it, but everything does not go according to plan because Sir Jarius runs into his father. The girl also thinks about what she will do if something happens, and she thought that they would cope. At this point, the guy turns to his father, but his interlocutor only asks who he is talking about. After all, there are no people like him in his family. The man also asks what the security guard does, and since when have they let assassins in there? The main character asks what he is saying, but the guy just stands in front of the people and shows her not to say anything. The girl then turns to Sir Jarius, but then the aristocrats begin to whisper among themselves. One of them asks if this is the same assassin, and the other replies that it is true and that he is now standing right next to Count Surfield. Someone also asks if he is harming his own father. They also pay attention to the lady and ask who is next to him, because they see her for the first time. Merlin asks if this is really Lady Brique together with that same Jarius. The blonde also realizes that she thought the lady was smarter and wonders why she came there. Jarius at this time apologizes, but claims that he thinks it is better for him to leave. He also claims that Earl Surfield is right and that people like him should not use his name. Well, then the main character is going to stop him, but the Count tells the lady to leave him. After all, this guy is just a nuisance to everyone, and who would want to stand next to an assassin? Jarius says he is right, then apologizes to the people and leaves. The man says that it would have been better if he had gone into eternal sleep back then. Why did he suffer such shame now? And should he think about the family's reputation? The main character at this time remembers her father, and he claims that he is crossing the line because a child is not a trinket that can be thrown away as unnecessary. If he wants someone who follows his every word, then he'd better buy himself a doll. At this time, the man asks the miss if she was taught not to poke her nose into other people's business. The girl replies that he said that Jarius is not his son, so she is not just a miss, but Lulua Brique. The Holy Knights are hers family, and he just dared to insult one of its members. The girl also turns to Jarius and invites him to return if he wants to help her. Then, let her stay close until the end, to which the guy agrees, and asks the main character if he wanted to talk about his duty again. The girl also claims that it is time to take their places. The guy's father at this time thinks whether the girl is telling him not to insult her family. One of the aristocrats says that the Count was put in his place. Her interlocutor asks who this brave lady is. Someone else replies that it seems to be Mrs. Brique, and she is very reminiscent of the high society rose named Petcha. Someone else says that she thought her place in social circles was taken by Marilyn, and the blonde at this time is thinking, does the lady really look like Petcha? And this is so interesting. A little while later, the main character falls to the floor and also claims that she thought that she would fall into eternal sleep from fear. Jarius asks if the lady was really that worried, to which you answer that of course she was, and she was so afraid that they would run into the Count. The guy says that it's all because of him, and asks if everything is okay, to which the lady replies that yes, and he claims that he had to listen to this from his own family, but he just stood there and endured it. The boy says that his father said nothing new, and the lady claims that she knows, because Sir Alt was worried about him, and told her everything Jarius asks if Alt was worried about him. The lady replies that of course, and he always takes care of him, and now she understands his concern. The girl also tells him to listen, because if this happens again, she will always be on his side. When she was in such a situation, she needed someone who would support her, so let the guy be ready to answer his father. And when he says that everything is okay, then it hurts her. The guy answers that it is okay, and he understood. After which, the main character with a smile on her face says that this is wonderful, and also suggests going. Like one family, a little while later, they approach the sculptor, who asks where they have been all this time. But he thought that the guy would put him to eternal sleep because the lady was gone. The main character says what a joker Icarus is, but he asks who is joking. He also tells the lady to hurry up and calm him down, because the award ceremony is coming soon. The girl says that it is true and also asks if he is worried too, which the guys answer that he is a little worried, and in any case, his sculpture of 1,000 crystals is waiting for its time. The main character claims that she wants to see it as soon as possible, and she is sure that this sculpture is simply amazing. At this time, someone presents other sculptures. One of the aristocrats claims that this participant used an unusual material, and this is impressive. The hosts also say that it is time for their last participant named Icarus, and asks to evaluate his work. Well, when the presenter removes the cover, one of the aristocrats says that he cannot believe it, and the other wonders if a person could really create something like this. Someone else says that this sculpture is made entirely of black crystals and asks how much it costs. Another person claims that he thinks this sculpture can take first place and that he managed to convey the features of the goddess. Marilyn smiles after this and thinks that Miss Brique did an impressive job. After all, she found a real nugget, but first place had already been given to another person. He talked so much about his undoubted victory, so the girl wonders if the competition will not go as Countess POTUS planned. At this time, the host bursts into the lady and says that something bad has happened. The woman asks what is going on. The Countess is the organizer of the art competition and also a member of the third clan of the Empire. The guy claims that now is not the time to rest because they have a very strong participant. The woman says that she has no doubts because he paid her a lot, but the guy replies that he is really good. And in the hall, everyone is excited too, because they are wondering whether the sculpture of the goddess will be able to take first place. To be honest, the sculpture is very impressive, but the Countess tells him to stop and not to chat about some nameless master, because she herself will decide who deserves the award. After which, she also tells the guy not to interfere with her work. The main character at this time turns to Icarus and says that it is very beautiful. After all, this sculpture seems to have been created in heaven. The guy then says that the lady embarrassed him. Well, the girl turns to the commander and asks if she is wrong. Well, when she sees that he is thinking, she turns to him again. After which, the guy comes out of his thoughts and also apologizes and asks what the lady said. The girl says that he seems impressed and asks if he likes the Icarus sculpture. After all, she is sure that, yes, it is all written on his face. Cainshel is going to say something, but the sculptor tells the two to go there because it's time for the ceremony. Lulua realizes that they are already starting and suggests that they hurry. A little while later, they find themselves in something like an opera house, and the girl realizes that this is her first time in such a place. When the lady turns around, she realizes that the sculptor is so nervous. And in the book from her dream, Icarus took second place, and the Countess gave first place to her protégé. So she just needs to get Michael's braids. But the girl thinks about Icarus. At this point, someone thanks everyone for waiting and says it's time to announce the next winner. The Duchess claims that second place goes to Icarus and his goddess, their prize being Michael's staff. After which, the woman invites the representative of the Esfrid Guild to come forward. At this time, the aristocrats are whispering whether the goddess took second place, and this is so strange, after which they ask who was able to do this work. Someone else claims that it is made of such an expensive material, but the woman says that everyone should remain quiet because the work was carefully assessed by specialists. She also asks where the Esfed Guild representative is and asks him to go up there. At this time, the blonde is thinking that the girl should be happy about second place and whether she will really stand still, after which she even wonders what the girl has planned. Lulua states that she would like to object. After all, she can't believe that such a work took second place, and she wonders if her judges were fair. The Countess asks if the lady is accusing her of fraud, since the Emperor himself is there today, so she should be careful with her words. When the main character looks at one of the places, she understands that His Majesty is there. At this time, the Countess asks if the lady has evidence, and if so, she can present it to the Emperor himself. Lulua understands that it seems that the Countess is bothering the Emperor a lot, which means that she can easily cope. Maintaining a fragile balance between themselves, the three largest families of the empire have become a serious force. And although the Emperor pretended to value his comrades, he had no intention of sharing his power with them. Because of this, the balance between the families was disrupted, and they began to plot against each other to the delight of the emperor. The girl at this time bows before the emperor and claims that she is greeting the beacon of their empire. The man asks what kind of family the girl is from, to which she replies that she, Lulutia of the Duchy of Brique. She would not have dared to disturb him, but circumstances forced her to, and the statue of the goddess that people liked so much took only second place. So the lady wonders what His Majesty thinks about this. One of the aristocrats says that she is right, because she was also very surprised. And the other one replies that she doesn't even remember the work that took first place. The man says that the lady's statement is not groundless, and all the guests spoke only about the goddess. Well then, the Countess tells His Majesty that their judges have checked everything. The man says that it is enough, and he wonders if the girl dares to deny his words, after which the Countess bows and tells His Majesty that no. The man claims that since such a situation has arisen, maybe they will invite the contestants there so that they can present their work themselves. After all, he thinks that then everyone will be happy, after which the Countess claims that she listens and obeys. A little while later, the red-haired guy tells the lady that he overheard something about the first-place candidate. The girl asks what he found out, after which the guy replies that this man is a teacher from the academy, and his sponsor is the director of this institution. The director's name is Taros, and it seems he was involved in the Jarius case. The brunette at this time says that the guy was not mistaken, and he really is the director of the academy, and he also didn't care about the bullying of the students. Apparently, he was living well since he had enough money to participate in the competition. A little while later, 2 statues are already placed in front of the emperor, after which he is shown the goddess. The man says how majestic it looks, and asks if this statue took first place, to which his interlocutor replies that it did not, and that work was presented by the Esfed Guild, since it is in second place. The man then asks what they are talking about, and the sculptor says that it is an honor for him to perform before His Majesty, and if he allows it, he will begin. The emperor tells him to begin, after which the guy claims that, according to legends, the goddess could take on different forms, and he recreated one of the canonical images where she raises a dagger over the head of a peacock. The sculptor also asks if any of the guests know what this symbolizes. Jarius replies that the judge and the guy says that he is right, because by choosing this image, he wanted to appeal to the body on the morning of the competition. He is sure that they will be fair to the goddess of the garment of sins. At this time behind him stands another statue which took the first place. The guy says that the goddess's aspirations are in line with the ideals of the empire and the wisdom of His Majesty. He does not yield to the wisdom of the goddess, after which he thanks her for her attention and claims that he is finished. One of the aristocrats claims that his speech is very cunning, and this guy even complimented the emperor, after which one of them asks if the results were really faked. The emperor claims that he sees that they have done a great job and the result is far from immediate, after which he turns to the one who was able to surpass such a magnificent work and offers to listen to him. The man then merely bows and claims that he has nothing to say, and the emperor says that this is unfortunate, and also asks how he got first place. Then the man also screams, "What is the point of the competition if the victory is awarded to anyone, and let them immediately take away Countess Potus and Director Taro?" The man claims that the lady found a very talented master, and if it weren't for her, he would have been humiliated. He also tells the ladies to give out the second and first place prizes immediately. The main character then rejoices and also bows before His Majesty and thanks him with all her heart. Merlin watches this and smiles and says how funny it is Lady Brique managed to find a talented person, and she stood up for him at the right moment, so she really does look like a rain of secular roses. Petcha. However, this girl is still far from her, and although in the future she may become a threat to her, but only if she manages to attract her to her side. Then everything will work out as best as possible, after which the girl whispers something to her servant. A little while later, the main character is already carrying prizes, after which one of the knights offers to help her. Then the girl gives one of them, and the knight asks, "What about the staff?" Lulutia replies that someone else will carry it, after which the main character goes to the commander and Carter and turns to him. The guy asks if the lady called him, and the girl just hands him her staff, and also tells him to try to direct the force into it. The guy does so, after which he is completely shocked because he realizes that this staff has turned into a shining sword. When he looks at it, he realizes that this is Al-Qaed's holy sword. It is a legendary weapon. One of the knights claims that if anything can withstand the commander's strength, it is only this sword, and he does not understand how it ended up there, because this sword disappeared in ancient times. The main character then asks the commander how he likes it and whether this weapon is suitable for the battle during the Magnolia. The guy asks if the lady was really that worried about him, and she always helps him, so he thanks the girl. Well, the main character says that it is not worth the gratitude because only thanks to him she avoided the wedding, and she just wants to be useful while she is with him. A little while later, the girl also turns to Icarus and tells him to take it. Then he hands over the prize for first place. The guy is a little surprised and claims that they say it's a dragon's egg, but it looks more like a beautifully cut stone, so let the lady take it for herself. After all, it was enough for him that he took part in the competition, and at first, he did not want to submit to a girl who was far from art. But having taken part in the competition, and having expressed in stone everything that he had wanted to express for so long, he thinks that now the world will definitely hear him, after which the guy also turns to Lady Brique and claims that she is an amazing person, and also let her consider this his gift to her. Well, then the main character notices how someone touches her shoulder, and when she turns around, she asks who he is. The guy then turns to Lady Brique and claims that he is the messenger of Merlin, that is the White Lily. He also hands over a letter, and a little while later, the maid asks if she really sent her an invitation. The girl replies that yes, she was invited to some secret social reception that she is organizing. Sui claims that as soon as the competition ends, the ladies are already sending an invitation, after which the girl says yes, and it is quite sudden. The main character also thinks about this girl and realizes that she recently came to the commander. But they don't even know each other, so the girl wonders what this invitation is for, and even for a closed meeting. Of course, she knows everything about the lady, and in the book from her dream, she was the main character. Well, she showed up there only to soon fall into an eternal sleep from the poison. The main character claims that she should accept the invitation, and she understands that it won't be easy to communicate with socialites, but she's curious, and she also wants to know why this girl invited her. A little while later, the girl is already at this reception and thinks that she was ready for this. But these ladies get on her nerves more than she expected. One of them says that a lady should choose a dress that better highlights her pink hair and let her think about it. Well, that can be understood, so as if the lady had an old-fashioned dress. Another girl says that the sun is so bright today, and she is afraid that it can harm the lady's skin. So let her sit on this side. This can be understood as, why did she come there at all? And it would be better to sit at home. Another lady says that she heard about the incident at the wedding of Lady Brique and wonders when she intends to officially come out. This can be understood as a question of why she has not done so yet. The main character is angry at all these questions, but says nothing. At this time, someone else addresses her, and he says that the lady looks tired, after which he asks if she doesn't like tea. Lulua replies that not at all. Thanks Letty for the invitation, after which she claims that she was delighted with her speech at the competition, and she decided to get to know him better, after which she also claims that she would like to take a walk with Lady Brique, and asks the other ladies if she is against it, after which they say that of course they will wait. One of them wonders if she is really going to harm this lady, and the main character wonders why this girl suddenly decided to take a walk with her alone. The blonde claims that the lady seemed uncomfortable in the company of other ladies, and she wanted to give her a break. Lulua knows it looks suspicious, but she doesn't seem to mean anything bad. After which, the two go for a walk, and the blonde thanks the lady for walking with her. She also claims that it would be awkward if the lady refused. Lulua thinks she's cute and so beautiful that you forget about caution when you're around her. But something is bothering her, and that is why she invited her there. Or she is worried about her relationship with the commander. But the main character still doesn't think that she's a bad person, and in that book, the commander ended up falling in love with Merlin. At this time, the blonde turns to the lady and asks if she will live in the temple now. The main character asks how she knows, and she answers that she often sees the commander of the knights and sometimes goes to the temple. On her last visit, she accidentally saw a lady in the window. Lulua only thinks that it comes out. This happened at that meeting of theirs. The girl at this time says that the lady was worried and the main character asks what she is talking about. Merlin claims that soon the Magnolia will begin, and the Holy Knights will have to fight in the front ranks. But all she can do is pray for their return. Lulua realizes that she thought it was her imagination, but this lady still provokes her, and after that the main character replies that no, and she can do a lot for them. After all, the knights no longer need money, and each of them received excellent equipment, so she does everything to help them. And to be honest, she is very busy, so she doesn't have time to hang around there, and the girl asks if Lady Merlin understands, or she always tries to insult others. The blonde at this time thinks that she didn't even suspect that this girl would be able to respond so worthily, after which she also thinks that maybe it's worth pretending that this is a mistake, and claims that the lady misunderstood her, after which she apologizes for offending her with her words. And the main character at this time asks what she is talking about and understands that this lady very quickly changed her behaviors. Merlin claims that she was just worried about her and blurted out something stupid. But the lady must also be very worried about the upcoming campaign since she is so actively helping the knights, so she will not meddle in something that is none of her business. Merlin also claims that Lady Brique is a great girl, after which she suggests returning to the others, and the main characters agree. When the main character leaves the event, she realizes that until the very end of the tea party, Merlin did not utter a word and made the other girls quiet down. She can't understand what she's up to. Well, then the girl also sees her maid, and she wonders if Miss has finished yet. The main character is already approaching her and asks how long she has been waiting, to which she replies that she just arrived. But the main character says that her hands are completely frozen and she doesn't know how to lie at all. At this time, a blonde comes up from behind and asks if this is Lady Brique's maid. She also says that she should have gone inside because it is so cold there. Sui says it's okay and she just wanted to meet her mistress. The main character then apologizes to Lady Merlin, but says that the maid is very cold, so she thinks it's time for them to go back. Marilyn says that they seem to be very close, because they care about each other so much. She also wishes Lady Brique a good journey, and when she leaves, she says that the maid is her weak spot. The girl herself did not notice how she gave herself away, after which she thinks about what she should do. Even at the art competition, she realized that this lady was an interesting person, and moreover, she had character. And since she has such a strong opponent, she must prepare properly. A little while later, the girl enters the estate where she is met by a servant who addresses her. The blonde asks if he was waiting for her, and if there was another letter from the prince. The guy replies that no, and the empress told her that the lady should hurry up with the creation of the magical installation. The girl then thinks about the prince and understands that, having been born into the Siron family, she had dreamed of the imperial family since childhood. But not being of royal blood and not having a high status, she could not so easily get into the palace. Therefore, the lady always tried to excel in various sciences. Someone claimed that the lady still small but impressive in its capabilities. After all, she is an excellent magician and learns quickly, so he is sure that she has a great future ahead, and she will also be able to solve any problems. Living meeting other people's expectations is how all her days passed. People praised the lady for not asking for anything in exchange for her help, and claimed that she was the best water mage in the empire. Merlin realizes that it is not surprising that in the end, the empress decided to keep her by her side. She hoped that she could help her to his own son, who was the second prince. It seemed to her that if they fell in love with each other, she would be able to fulfill her dream. However, Prince Glenn, who is the son of the previous empress, was much more beloved to her. The main character at this time says how great it is and how it suits them. She looks at the knights, and she claims that the price of royal purple is exorbitant, but it is so good. The lady also claims that Sir Crone and Sir Jarius are magnificent. Crone thanks the lady and claims that he has no words to describe this fabric, and she even protects from demons. Lulua replies that, of course, because they are the strongest military empires, so they should wear only the best clothes, and now they are ready for Magnolia. The blonde says that the lady always takes care of them, after which he turns to his colleague and invites him to say at least something. Lulua, at this time, tells them to consider this her donation. Well then, the girl also looks at Conchal and thinks that the royal purple suits his eyes so well, so it was not in vain that she wanted to give him this. The guy at this time approaches the lady. and also claims that first food, then weapons, and now clothes, and the lady does so much for them. The main character replies that not at all, and she just wants to repay the debt. There is still a lot to prepare before the trip. The girl then thinks that she has found weapons and armor for them, but what to do with the war horses, because now everyone is preparing for the upcoming battle, so the prices for horses have skyrocketed. Well, at that very moment, one of the servants runs into the room and screams for the commander to come there. The guy asks what is going on, after which the servant replies that there are horses near the temple. When the main character goes outside, she asks if it turns out that all these horses were given to her by Count Surfield. The servant replies that yes, and he personally decided to deliver them to the lady. The main character understands that Count Surfield is, after all, Jarius's father. She also understands that he broke off relations with his son, so why would he give him such gifts? Lulutia wonders what he has planned. The servant at this time tells the lady that the count said that he wants to see her. The girl asks really with her, and not with the commander or Jarius, after which he answers that yes. The main character then comes out to the count and greets him. The man thanks the lady for coming, and he is sure that she was surprised by his gift, which is why he came. Lulutia thanks him, but wonders if he doesn't want to see his son. However, the man asks if he can ask him about this. He also wonders if Lady Taro remembers. He was a sculptor who won first place, to which the main character replies yes, and understands that he was the director of the academy at the time when Jarius studied there. It was the countess who suggested hushing up the Jarius case and was caught in the rigging of the competition results. Tarov stated that he was not guilty of anything and that all the machinations were carried out by Countess Potus. Hearing about the trial of Taro, many came there to prove his guilt, and being driven into a corner, he blamed everything on the countess. The count claims that now Jarius can finally restore his good name. Lulutia asks if the count came there, because he regrets what happened too, which he replies that yes, and he could not believe his son, even standing in the courtroom. He who is his biological father could not utter a word, and also doubted their own child parents should always protect their child. And if Lady Brique had not spoken out against him at the competition, he would have remained aloof from his son. The man also asks what kind of father he is, and therefore he decided to at least give them good horses. The count thanks the lady for listening and then says that he will go, but the main character tells him to wait, and says that if he just leaves like that, then what will happen to Sir Jarius? The wounds inflicted on children by their parents do not heal just like that, so he must talk to him. The man then says that the lady is right, and he should greet him properly. A little while later, the maid asks the lady if he said that, and what happened next, to which the lady replies that it looks like they had a long conversation. The maid says that Sir Jarius is such a fine fellow, and that if she were in his place, she would not let the count even cross the threshold of the house. Lulutia replies that he has a very kind soul. The maid claims that now it is clear why he is always so cold. She also hopes that they can get rid of the burden of past grievances. Lulutia claims that she wants to ask Jarius later how it all went. And also, will they be able to fix this grumbler 2 hours ago in the temple kitchen? The cook asked if they were asking him to prepare food for Tarrant, to which the two replied that they were Well, the man replied that no matter how hard the knights tried, he wouldn't give in to them, and that horse almost trampled Mr. Alt. So suddenly, he bites off the lady's fingers as soon as she comes closer. The main character is then about to object, but the cook turns to the others and tells them to at least support him and stop looking around the corner. After which, these two come out and the cook claims that, by the way, they also couldn't handle the horse. And Sir Crone fell off his horse. The blonde then approaches the cook and tells him to be quieter, because Sui hears everything, but his interlocutor replies that he is only telling the truth. After which, he offers to look at this horse because no one could drive him into the stable. And now this horse is just standing in the middle of the yard. He's sorry, but after all, he says he has to refuse the lady. The commander then tells the cook to do what they ask the witch lady, to always surprise them with her talents. So who knows, and maybe she can handle this horse, and he will stay nearby, just in case, after which the guy agrees. A short time later, they go to the stables, and the commander claims that Tarrant is the best horse of the Earl of Surfield. He is a head taller than other war horses, but he has a very ferocious temper, which is sad. The count said he was curious if the knights could handle this horse, but as the lady sees, they did not succeed. The main character says that this is how it is, and asks if it is okay for him. Crone claims that the commander was at least able to take him under the oysters, while the others did not even dare to approach. Angel says the lady can come closer, and she asks if it is safe. The guy replies that yes, and if this horse does something, he will be in trouble. The main character screams for him to calm down. She also wonders if such a majestic horse rejects people. All the knights who tried to ride him were big men like Alt and Crow, and perhaps Tarrant feels threatened by them. The main character also turns to the maid and asks if she will give her an apple, after which the girl turns to Tarrant and claims that she will now sing him a song even though she is not very good at it. Then the main character starts singing, and the commander of the knights heard this melody and was shocked. He remembers how one day when he was younger, he asked Miss if it was true that he could be there, because if the owner saw it would be bad. But the girl told him not to worry, because his father had gone to inspect their property and would be gone all week. After which she also told the guy to move closer and asked if he was comfortable. The young man only said that the miss should let him go, and how could he lie on her, on his knees? But the girl insisted that no one would see, and also asked if he had been sleeping poorly lately. The lady also claimed that she would sing him a lullaby, and that she was not a very good singer, but wanted to do it for him because he was dear to her. Now the girl sings the same lullaby as then, after which the blonde says, "Who would have thought that this horse will treat the lady so well? Merlin is sitting at the papers at this time." The servant then asks for forgiveness, but the girl cries out that she told him not to disturb her. The guy then apologizes, but claims that he has news about Miss Brique and wonders if he should come back later. Merlin asks if he is talking about Brique, to which the guy replies that yes, and he found out that Count Surfield gave the temple several horses. The girl understands that these horses were probably intended for Magnolia, and the girl found an ally for herself, so she is a good girl. The blonde says that it is clear, and now the guy can go. When he leaves, the girl thinks about Prince Glenn. She also understands that she is helping the Empress only to save him. The first prince is weak, but if he ascends the throne, it will become much stronger. The girl also understands that the installation must first be completed. But suddenly, she drops one of the items, after which she realizes that it is a nightmare potion, and she cannot fall asleep. But at that very moment, the lady finds herself in another place and thinks how uncomfortable it is there. Nightmare potions put people to sleep and cause hallucinations that say that, in this dream, you can see the past. But who knows, because only a goddess can interfere with the course of time. The girl thinks why she spilled this particular potion, and what an idiot she is. But then she notices herself standing with the commander, and wonders what this is. Angel asks Lady Merlin how long she will continue to torment him like this. The girl asks if he is talking about bullying, but wonders why her assumption doesn't suit him, since he was upset by the outcome of the last Magnolia. Due to the lack of knights, they lost the trust of the imperial family, and without Togo, the modest donations completely stopped. So how can he rely on anyone other than her? The girl also tells him to trust her, because she will try to do everything to pull the temple out of poverty. After which, the guy bowed down and said that it was good, and he also swears that he will be devoted to her until his last breath. The aristocrats are then surprised and say that this is the White Lily of Maryland, who is the son of high society. The girl also introduces herself to the main character, after which they even meet the prince. The guy claims that he missed her and apologizes to Marilyn for making her worry so much, but claims that everything will be fine now. He will make her happy, after which the guy asks if she will marry him, to which the girl replies, of course, and claims that she loves him. He also says that he loves her. But at that very moment, the lady opens her eyes and wonders if she is seeing these illusions because of the nightmare potion. But she has an excellent imagination, because everything there is so real, and there is everything she once dreamed of, because they say that some nightmare potions do not create illusions, but only show the past and the most terrible memories. After which, the girl sees Lulua's grave, Hind, and realizes that she is there too. The girl realizes that she has heard about her and received a blessing from the goddess. This lady has gained the ability to resist the flow of time, after which she realizes that it is not hers. Memories and memory Luluti. And you can just look at this unsightly tombstone. It's not surprising that these memories are so gloomy. The girl also thinks who would be happy with such an immersion into eternal sleep, and even she could not stand it. Therefore, she thinks how many ladies prayed to the goddess to turn back time. The girl lured the priests who served the goddess to her, and with their help, she wants to change the course of time, and also get rid of her and take her place. After which, the blonde starts laughing. She claims that for now, these are just guesses, but she needs to make sure of everything. At this time, the main character is near the temple and understands that it looks like everything is ready. At this time, the maid approaches her and asks if she can go out into the city for a short while. Lulutia replies that of course it asks what the matter is, because she doesn't like it when there are a lot of people around. The maid claims that Sir Crone gave her a gift, and she wants to thank him. The main character is then surprised and tells the maid to go quickly and also asks whether to go with her. Sui replies that there is no need, and the lady is now very busy preparing for the campaign, and she will return soon, so let the lady rest for now. The main character says that it is good, and suggests the lady to be careful. The commander at this time turns to Lulutia, and he talks about Krona and Miss Sui, and yet he says that he feels very sorry for her. The main character asks if the commander really heard her. She also claims that Sir Crone is a good man, but the commander says no, and that she should be sympathized with. The main character then smiles and says what a joker he is, after which she claims that she wanted to ask something and asks when he was appointed to the position. The guy says that if she is talking about the position of the knight commander, then it was a long time ago, and without much ceremony, Lulutia asks if this was not officially covered in any way, to which the guy replies that it was not. Then the lady asks, what if they themselves arrange a festive ceremony for him? Yugai asks if she really wants to do this in front of the public, to which the lady replies that yes, she understands that although the knight's situation has improved, they are still looked upon as barbarians, and people know little about the knights, so there are more and more strange rumors. Lulutia claims that she thinks that taking care of his image before the start of the campaign is a good idea. And if people know him by sight, then his victories will also be remembered by everyone. And besides, he is so handsome. The guy says that if it's important to the lady, then he agrees. Lulutia understands that this is all for the commander, and he must become the hero who will bring victory to everyone. And even if she falls into eternal sleep, other people will remain on his side. Dial swears and asks how these idiots dare to ignore him. At this time, the butler announces that a guest has come to see him, and the guy asks what he is talking about, and also whether he seems to be in the mood to receive guests. Dial moves on and claims that he will personally tell this guest to get lost. He also wonders why there are only idiots around him, but when he sees the girl, he asks who she is. The guy says that she seems to be that baroness named Merlin, after which he asks what business she has with him. The girl then thinks that it seems like someone really hurt his pride, since this guy can't control his emotions at all. Dial claims that he asked her about the lady, and understands that she does not want to tolerate this impudence, but people like him can only be controlled by flattery. Merlin apologizes for the inconvenience her visit has caused him. Well, she had a problem that only an outstanding person like him could solve. The guy then says that he had no doubt that the lady would see his potential, after which he invites her to tell him what the matter is. Merlin realizes that she thought so, and then claims that it concerns Miss Brique. The guy asks why she needs this idiot, and the lady replies that lately everyone is talking only about her. Winning the competition brought her business unprecedented profits, and they say that she owns a whole mine with black crystals. The guy with red hair gets furious after this and thinks that he shouldn't have sold her his mine for so cheap. After this, the blonde tells the guy to listen to her, because if you act hastily, you can cause trouble. Not long ago, she met a lady at a social event, and that day she seemed to her to be quite arrogant, and it seems that success has gone to her head. Dial then says that this lady now looks down on everyone, and he won't be surprised if she still went crazy after living with her father. Marilyn then says that it is wrong for such a talented person to pay for the mistakes of his younger sister, and she thinks that he should teach her a lesson. The guy claims it's tempting, but wonders what he can do while she's being protected by those damn knights. The blonde claims that she can help him and will lead him. She came to him not in secret from the knights, because she herself needed to discuss something with this lady. A little while later, the two are already heading somewhere, and the ladies realize that this guy said that they need to find a quieter place. But she doesn't understand why they went into the forest, and besides, these trees look unusual. The guy claims that this is a special forest, and that his father's secret laboratory is located there. Marilyn asks if he really decided to bring her there, and it is curious, but her interlocutor claims that if she finds out about her, then nothing will happen, after which he invites her to watch. When he uses his power, a building appears in the middle of the forest, and the girl wonders where it came from. The guy claims that only a person from the Brique clan can open the way, and the girl is the best water mage in the empire, but could not find the house, so his father's power is amazing. Marilyn says it's really impressive, but wonders how much longer she can brag. The guy then tells the lady to come in and then opens the door and says that now there is no need to worry about being heard. He also asks if the girl likes it there, and she understands that, of course, because we have so many rare magical devices, and if Diold brought her there, which means he doesn't even know the full value of this lab. The blonde then says that as a member of the Brique family, he can come there at any time. The guy replies that no, and he must get his father's permission, and then the lady says that he needs to take care of this, because if he says that he can return his runaway daughter to him, then she thinks that he will immediately give his permission. The guy then asks why it matters to her, and the lady claims that she will explain everything, and also thanks him for bringing her there. A little while later, the maid knocks on one of the shops, and also states that she would like to wrap a gift. Well then, she notices someone coming out from around the corner and gets scared. The shop owner at this time says yes, and he is already coming. But when he opens the door, he realizes that there is no one there and wonders if there are children having fun there. A little while ago, Marilyn was walking down the street and then picked up a maid's hairpin that was lying on the ground. And she understood that it was great because their plan had come into action. A little while later, the main character wonders where Sui had gone. After all, she left yesterday and still hasn't returned, so the girl wonders if something really happened. At this time, the blonde asks the lady where she is going so early, and the girl says that Sui went to the city yesterday, but she never returned, so she is worried that something might have happened to her. The guy then says that she has been gone for a day and asks what time she left and whether she said where she was going. The main character replies that she doesn't know, but thinks what kind of reaction this is. The guy then clenches his fists and also offers the lady to look for her together. The main character thanks him, but wonders if he is busy preparing for the hike. The guy replies that everything is fine, and if the lady goes one, the commander will be very worried. Then the main character claims that she relies on his help. A little while later, the two are walking down the street looking for the maid, but they can't find her anywhere. Lulua claims that she will look over there and also understands that this is the last option, and there should be at least something there. Then the main character knocks on the door, and the man opens it and wishes her good evening. Lulua claims that they are looking for a girl and are wondering if he has accidentally met her because she is short, has chestnut hair and green eyes. The man claims that if he saw her, he would not be able to forget such a beauty, but she is not familiar to him. The main character says that this is how they want it. Then the man looks closely and claims that yesterday someone knocked on the door, but when he came out the street was empty. He was about to close the door, but he noticed some object on the threshold and wondered where it came from, after which he shows this brooch and claims that he hopes it will help the lady. The main character tells Sir Crone that this is Sui's brooch. The guy asks if she is sure, after which the main character notices magic on her and understands that she knows it. Then the girl begins to hear Diold's voice. He claims that if the match received this message, then his plan was successful, and they caught her precious maid. If the lady does not come to her father before the next sunset, then the life of this maid will quickly end. Let the girl come alone, and also a secret, because they don't want unnecessary noise, and let her not be late either. Lulua realizes that it's sunset, and there's almost no time left. Crone asks where the lady is heading, and she only apologizes to him in her thoughts. But she understands that in order to save Sui, she must go alone, after which the lady jumps into the carriage. The guy realizes that the lady ran away so suddenly that he missed her. A little while later, someone grabs him by the clothes and asks if he really let her escape and is only now talking about it. The blonde then apologizes, and the commander asks what he is mumbling about and how could he let her go. The guy claims that the lady suddenly jumped into the carriage and drove away and did not say where she was going. At this time, the commander screams, "Where is she?" And Crone notices that his right eye has changed color. One of the officers tells the commander to calm down, but he asks if they are really telling him all this and telling him to calm down. After which, the guy tells the commander that the goddess's gaze is directed at them, but he only asks if he is talking about the goddess. He also claims that the goddess always watches over their actions, and the priests are always happy to serve her, because it is a great honor. The guy also says how caring she is, because she sends them trials to strengthen their faith. Diold understands that the commander's eye is shining scarlet, and this is a sign of vice, so he must be calmed down by any means necessary. The blonde then screams for the commander to come to his senses, because in such a state, he will not be able to help Lady Brique in any way. And he is worried as well, because Lady Sui will also convince him, so let him pull himself together. If he doesn't do this, then who will lead them forward? After which the guy calms down and tells them to quickly go to the assembly hall. At this time, the blonde realizes that the color of his eyes has returned to normal, and then falls to the ground and claims that the trouble has passed. The other officers ask if he is okay, and one of them says that it is better for him to talk to him from a safe distance, and also to watch the commander's eyes. The guy claims that the situation is serious, so there is no time to be cautious, Lady Brique. She is the only one who can curb the commander's power, and if she is not around, but then the guy says that it's okay, and he is fine, and also suggests not to make the commander wait. A little while later, the maid cries out to her mistress and asks if she is okay. She also says that she must not lose consciousness. The guy with red hair says that this is true, and the lady still has a lot to do, because he has not yet released all his anger, and she is already switching off, so this will not work. Diold claims that he didn't want to push too hard, in case they decided to sell it again for a profit. But her father said that her inanimate body was enough for him, so most likely he wouldn't get a penny for her now. He already reported to his father that he caught her, and he will be there soon, so the matches were out of luck. Well, he still has a little time before his arrival. So he's going to have some fun, the main character then tells him in a shaking voice to let Sui go. The guy is surprised, and the girl says that he did say that he would let her go if she came back. Diold asks if this is true and wonders when he said such a thing. After all, he only said that if the lady doesn't come, anything could happen to her, but he promised to let her go. After this, Lulutia wants to call the guy names, but then someone else tells the lady not to raise her voice. Otherwise, she may lose consciousness again, after which the main character looks at this girl. And she just wishes her a good evening and says that it looks like the lady didn't expect to meet her there. She also says that they haven't seen each other for a long time and claims that she wanted to talk to her, after which she assumes that she doesn't mind. Merlin also asks Sir Diold if he will give up his seat to her and then asks him to do so. The guy says okay, but the girl should not try to let her out under any circumstances. Merlin realizes that this guy is so predictable, and the main character at this time asks why they do this. And if you can expect something like this from Diold, then the athlete can't do it. So the main character asks, what is Marilyn's motivation? Because she didn't do anything to her. The girl then takes off her cape and claims that that is exactly the point, and she came there to make sure. That little Lady Brique won't be in the way. Lulutia asks what that means, and the girl replies that she recently dreamed of a grave. To her surprise, the name Lulutia was carved on the tombstone hind. She was sold as a wife to an old man and was put into an eternal sleep by poison, after which she asks what Lady Brique thinks about this, because it seems to her that she should have fallen into eternal sleep a long time ago. The girl then asks if the lady wants to live, and therefore resists fate, under the protection of the temple and the knights, and especially Canichel and Credera. While the blonde claims that none of this belongs to her, the main character replies that this is true, and she should have gone into eternal sleep, but she did not use the commander at all, and only wanted to make sure that he and the knights would be okay. Well then, the lady says that it is time for her to get rid of her illusions, because it was she who always took care of the knights, and Lady Lulutia only stole her place. The blonde thinks that all this is because of her, and if it were not for Lulutia, Brique, then Conchal Encreder and the other knights would be in her power. With their strength and her talents, they would make sure that Prince Glen would not have to suffer anymore. At this time, the girl says that what goes around comes around, after which she leaves the room and says that she will have to pay for her theft. Lulutia, at this time, thinks that she knows, and Canichel was condemned to sacrifice himself for Merlin, but she wanted to save him from such a sad fate, and it doesn't matter what she has to go through. After all, she wants him to be happy, but the girl understands that her maid is not guilty of anything. Lulutia turns to the goddess and claims that she is ready to receive any punishment, and she still has no more than a year to live. But she asks to help at least Sue. The commander of the VAT is heading somewhere. One of the officers says that in such a storm, it is easy to make a mistake and grab anyone instead of Lady Brique, but Jarius tells Alt to watch his language. The guy asks what he said, and he is just very worried, and also wonders if he saw the commander. After all, if this continues, he will fall into eternal sleep in the nearest ditch. Then Cainshel enters the room, and the officer immediately runs up to the commander and asks if he is okay. The young man claims that this is not right, because he has not eaten anything for several days. The guy replies that he is fine, but the lady is probably suffering a lot. A little while later, the guy opens his eyes and thinks where he is, because he was just looking for Lady Brique. But then he hears someone screaming what it is, and saying that it is beyond comprehension. The man passes by the guy, and then screams out that he clearly stated that his treatment is no longer required. Well, the doctor claimed that the Countess was not sick, and it looked like she had been poisoned, but she could fall into eternal sleep. The man then said that it was enough and let him leave, and also quickly, but the doctor screamed at him to wait because the lady's life was in danger. One of the knights then said that he seemed to understand nothing and was really not yet aware that Count Hind longed for his wife to be plunged into eternal sleep. At this time, the guy thinks about Count Hind and understands that this is the one the lady was supposed to marry, after which he is completely shocked and wonders if this is really what he is thinking about. The guy also runs into the room from which the doctor was taken out, after which he sees a girl lying on the bed and immediately turns to her when he touches her pulse, who understands that it is not there and also the heart is not beating. After this, the guy finds himself in another place and sees a man who says that this is a funeral that no one cares about. He also turns around and sees the commander, after which he asks who he is. The man wonders if this lonely girl knew the knight. Cainshel asks if he can see him, to which the man replies that he can and can allow him to say goodbye. Well, when the commander sees the lady lying in the coffin, he goes into shock and then screams that this simply cannot be, and also how could it happen? At that moment, he opens his eyes and sees an officer who asks the commander to wake up. When the guy opens his eyes, Alt asks if he came to his senses. A short time later, Crone asks if the commander really thinks the lady is at the Duke's estate. He replies that yes, and this is the only possible place, after which the blonde asks why he decided so. The guy replies that their magic doesn't work only in the Imperial Palace and the Brique estate. The Imperial family has used the services of mages for their protection since time immemorial, but the Brique family is a different case. Well, then one of them asks why the commander does not want to check the Imperial Palace first. The Imperials could have captured the lady to blackmail him, but the guys say no, and that's how they control him. After all, he gives him medicine. Then one of the officers says that Sir Cronu said that the lady climbed into the cart voluntarily, so why should she go back to the estate since she liked living in the temple so much? The guy replies that she probably had her own reasons, and the captain asks if Crone has any ideas about this. The guy then takes out the maid's brooch and claims that Sui dropped it, and if their guesses are correct, then the Duke probably grabbed Sui to catch Lady Brique. After all, she considers the girl her family. The commander claims that the Duke probably knew how close they were and that they should visit him. Well, then the officer screams that it's not worth it because Brique is the only family in the Empire that possesses fire magic, and he's going to break into their house, and even for him, it's too dangerous. He is not sure that their defense can be broken through, but the guy replies that there is no fortress that he cannot take, and if necessary, he will start a war. Well, if the Duke finds out about their intentions, the lady may suffer, so it is better to act quietly. Jarius, then, asks if the gentleman has a plan, to which he replies that he does. He also turns to Crone and claims that they should encourage the attack. At this time, the Duke returns home in a carriage and reads a message from his son that he caught a match, after which the man wonders if he really pulled this girl out of the temple. But at that very moment, the carriage shudders, and the man asks what is the matter and whether the coachman has really gone completely blind, but he only apologizes to the gentleman and claims that the butterflies have blocked the road. When the man looks at the road, he understands that everything is so. He also screams for him to drive through them, but the coachman claims that if the horse gets scared, it can turn over the carriage, after which the man gets out of the carriage and sees knights there. A little while later, the commander is already running through the forest. He recalls how at a meeting, he claimed that there was a secret laboratory on the estate, and only someone with Brique's blood in their veins could find it. The officer then asked if it meant they wouldn't be able to get in there, but the guy replied no, because it was they who wouldn't be able to get in there. But he is strongly connected to the Brique family. Not long after the boy is already walking down one of the corridors. He wonders if it has always been so narrow there. But then he realizes that no, he just grew up. One day, a man was leading him down the corridor, and he said that everything was going just fine, because the power of the goddess could be used by combining dark and light magic. Everything is so simple, and you just need to implant the power of the freak Brique into a person with light magic. He also screamed that he was talking about this boy, after which he threw him into one of the rooms and told him to come in. After all, today, everything will be decided, and the guy has 2 chances to get out of there. After all, he would either absorb its magic or fall into eternal sleep. Cainshel managed to absorb the magic and survive. At the same time, the power of the Brique family still flows through his veins, otherwise he would not have been able to enter there. Therefore, he should say thank you to Geld Brique, after which he breaks into the room. Diold is shocked by this and screams, "What is this?" After all, only members of their clan can enter there. The commander at this time examines Milady and claims that he will cure her, but when the guy is about to use his power, it dries up. Diold asks if the guy really calls himself the commander of the knights, because this is their laboratory, and only their magic works there, so he lured himself into a trap. But Kneshel is only interested in whether this is his doing, and whether Milady's wounds are his work. The guy replies that yes, and asks what happened to Togo, after which he starts screaming that the commander will also fall into eternal sleep right there. He also begins to use his fire magic, but Kneshel says who knows, because he is afraid that the first one to be plunged into eternal sleep will be Diold. The main character at this time thinks that although this guy is strong, he will not be able to resist Diold without his magic, and the lady thinks how to help him, after which she sees her father's magical device on the table. At this time, Diold turns to his interlocutor and asks if he is really going to reflect his magic with a simple sword, and also if he is really so eager to plunge into eternal sleep. At this time, the main character screams at the guy and tells him to stop. Diold asks if this is really a match, and the girl holding the device in her hand claims that if he continues, she will break it. The guy with red hair asks what the hell this is, and the lady realizes that of course he doesn't know, after which she asks if he really doesn't know, and if her father told everything only to her. The guy then screams that he doesn't care, and he's going to smash the thing to pieces, after which he uses his magic on it. And it immediately explodes, after which someone shouts to the commander to act now. The guy then starts using his magic, and Diold says that that's it, and he got him. The next second, these two find themselves in a destroyed laboratory, and the main game does not ask the commanders if he is okay. The guy replies that the lady suffered much more, and the girl claims that she is glad that she was able to protect him. The girl also turns to Diold, and Kneshel claims that she will put him into eternal sleep. Lulutia replies that it is not necessary, but she still thinks that she is pleased to see him in such a miserable state, and for the first time she was able to resist him. The lady claims she's fine, but they better get out before their father gets back. The commander claims that the lady doesn't have to worry about it, because he told Crone to buy them time so that he won't harm them anymore. But of course, he will be able to repel any attack, after which the main character tells him to calm down, and thinks that the magic device is broken, so his father will be furious when he finds out. But she is not yet ready to fight him one-on-one. Lulucha claims that there is little time for them, so they need to leave, to which the guy agrees. At this time, the main character looks at the magic device, but then she begins to feel completely unwell. The girl immediately begins to fall to the floor, and at the same moment, the commander screams to Milady and asks if she is okay. The main character then turns to the commander, and he only screams what is wrong with her, and the lady understands that her heart is breaking into pieces, and she wonders if this is really the way to plunge into eternal sleep. But she had to make sure that the maid would wake up, and that she hadn't said goodbye to Gaston yet, and also did not thank all the other knights, and what is most important. Now she turns to the commander and says that she does not want to plunge into eternal sleep, but wants to be with him. Well then, the lady completely loses consciousness, which shocks the guy, But then he realizes that he needs to be calm because the lady is still breathing. Then the young man also uses his power and tells Crone to leave the Duke and help him because he found them both. A little while later, the doctor claims that he has finished the procedures and there is no internal damage, so he does not even know why the lady does not wake up. Angel asks if these are really the doctor's words, after which he replies that he is sorry. But now, all they can do is wait for improvement. When the doctor leaves, the commander only becomes dejected. He turns to Milady and says that if she doesn't wake up, he doesn't even know what will happen to him. Now the main character opens her eyes, and her interlocutor greets her, and also says that they haven't seen each other for a long time. Lulutia asks if this is a dream, but realizes that the landscape has changed. She looks at the terrible ruins and wonders what happened. Her interlocutor asks if she really means what happened to her, after which to touch her hearts, and the lady understands that it hurts again. The girl tells her to breathe because she will feel better, but let her breathe deeper. Lulutia asks if something is wrong with her, after which her interlocutor remains silent, but still claims that this world is woven from her dream, and when the lady is in pain, it also collapses. But Lulutia destroyed something that she shouldn't have. The main character asks if she really destroyed something, after which she remembers that magical device, and her interlocutor claims that it contained part of the magic of both the lady and her life force. She should have just returned to her owner, but the girl is no longer able to absorb magic, and the antidote can become poison if there is too much of it. The main character asks if it turns out that magic is poisoning her, to which the lady replies that yes, and it is destroying her. Lulutia screams that no, and she doesn't have much time left anyway, so she doesn't want to fall into eternal sleep even earlier. Her interlocutor claims that all she can do is tell her future, after which the main character claims that she does not need such a future, and her interlocutor claims that the time has come. And this will happen here and now, after which the girl screams for her to wait and not leave. At that very moment, the lady wakes up and screams in her sleep, after which she sighs, but still feels how her heart hurts. When the lady looks at the bed, she realizes that the commander is lying there. She turns to him, and the guy immediately wakes up, and also turns to Milady. The girl then starts crying, and the guy immediately apologizes and asks if he really hurt the gay, after which the main character answers that no, and she just saw his face and was happy. The lady claims that she thought she would never see him again, after which the guy wipes away her tears and claims that he will be there for as long as she wants. And he is not very good at comforting, but seeing her tears is unbearable for him. Lulutia then apologizes and also thinks that she does not want to fall into eternal sleep and also cannot leave him like that. The girl then turns to the commander and says that it seems she loves him, and she should have realized this earlier before she found herself very close to falling into eternal sleep. At this time, the guy asks what this means, and is her life really in danger, after which they ask her not to say that at all, but the lady claims that she will really soon fall into eternal sleep. The commander asks what she is talking about, but the girl is silent for a while, and then claims that her father loved her mother very much, and that she was a kind and beautiful girl. She was a wonderful person, so he tried everything to bring the lady back to life. And on his order, the lady drained all her magic into a special device. She doesn't know exactly how this could help her to mom, but magic is life, and the more she gave it, the closer she became to plunging into eternal sleep. She was so happy in the temple and tried to escape from reality, but she can't hide the truth forever, so the girl just apologizes. Well, then she notices the commander crying, and shock sets in. The lady realizes that he is shaking so much. Well, the guy then tells the lady that he cannot live in a world where she is not, and also will not allow her to fall into eternal sleep. A little while later, the main character already asks the commander if it is better to, which he replies that yes. The girl claims that she did not expect to see his tears, after which she thanks him and claims that it is nice to know that there are people in the world who will mourn her. Angel claims that she is the only one for whom he is ready to shed tears, after which he also turns to Milady and asks if he can take her to one place, after which the main character asks where. And the guy replies that she was honest with him and he wants to repay her in kind, so he hopes that the lady will not refuse him. The girl replies that of course not, after which she takes his hand and they head to the basement. When the main character goes there, the guy tells the lady to wait a little and also gives the Holy Father some medicine. The woman then stands up, and the guy addresses Her Holiness, after which she says that it is Commander and Carter. But then she sees the lady and asks if it is Lady Brique. The main character answers that yes, but wonders how the Holy Father knows. The woman replies that she has heard about her and wonders if the lady could help her get up. The main character agrees and then does so. And when the woman looks at her, she says that the commander did not lie. The lady is a beauty and has kind eyes. The woman also says that she seems to have woken up quickly and asks if the guy would like to introduce her to this sweet girl, to which he replies that he does. After which the woman asks if he proposed to her, which surprises the two. And she claims that she decided that the guy wanted to get a blessing for her. The main character thinks whether she is talking about a blessing, and then asks if the Holy Father can do this. The woman replies that she is one of those who hears the voice of the goddess. So yes, Lulua says that the blessing is wonderful, but she would like her to give it to the commander. Kanchel tells the lady that he doesn't understand, and she replies that it's about that ceremony. The girl also recalls how they said that his appointment ceremony was greatly cut short, and the lady claimed that it meant everything went unofficially after that. She suggested that they arrange a real ceremony for him before the start of the campaign, because people should know they're real heroes. Now the lady claims that if the Holy Father blesses him, it will raise the guy's position in society. The woman claims that it seems that Kanchel is very dear to the lady, which only makes the girl embarrassed, and the Holy Father asks how she can refuse. Now the guy says that, yes, after which he thanks her. The Holy Father states that he will need help if he is to wake up, and he replies that he knows, and then turns to Milady and says that he thinks it is time for them to return. The main character at this time thinks about these words, and thinks what it means the Holy Father tells the commander and Milady that they will see each other at the ceremony. Lulua replies that yes, and thanks her, after which they leave. As the two head upstairs, the guy turns to Milady and asks if she remembers that he promised to tell her something. The main character replies that yes, after which the guy claims that he thinks the lady has already begun to guess that her holiest is free and spends almost all her time sleeping. Thanks to this medicine, she can wake up for a short time, and it is created at the court, and only it can cope with her illness. And in order to get this medicine, he carries out all the dirty orders of the emperor. He has already gotten used to it because this woman is like a mother to him, and for her sake, he can endure anything, but now everything is different. So he tells Milady that he wants to break this connection in order to stay close to her. The main character then says that he is not always there, after which the guys claim that he meant something else. The young man then addresses her as Miss Lulua, which makes the lady a little embarrassed, and tells the commander to call her by her old name. The young man then asks what like before means, and then he kisses the lady's hand and claims that he called her exactly that, and also wonders if she doesn't recognize him, after which the main character thinks if that boy is really him. The girl asks if it's really Rat. Well, he claims that she thought he had already fallen into eternal sleep. The guy says that apparently they told her so at home, but after that, he asks the lady to look and shows his mark of the slaves of the house to Brique. He also claims that once hatred for Brique burned in him with a hot fire, but now everything is different, and the lady can consider herself her rightful mistress, because then he can stay with her forever, and also do everything she wants. The girl then screams that no guy claims that the lady will soon get used to it, and the ceremony, as well as the course of her desires, will be law for him. Lulua claims that she wanted to have a ceremony, but when she wants to say something else, the guys claim that if the lady wishes, then he will call her mistress the Duke. At this time, returns to his ruined laboratory and sighs. He also sees a guy lying on the floor, after which they approach him and press his foot on his chest. The guy wakes up after this and asks if it is his father, but the man only asks how he dares to address him after what he did. He also lifts the guy up by his hair and says that he thought he could at least handle Brique's fire, but he screwed up, and now he uses it to get Pecha back. At this time, one of the aristocrats says that she expected someone else. The other one replies that this is true, and she thought that there would be statues of defeated demons everywhere. Well, one of them says that their commander's appearance exceeded all expectations. Her interlocutor replies that yes, and she thought that he was just a barbarian with a bunch of subordinates. But he is so handsome. The other woman then tells the ladies to be quiet because the ceremony is about to begin. The main character just smiles and thinks that the commander is really wonderful, and it's great that people are so impressed by him. But now she's a little upset that he doesn't belong to her alone anymore. At this point, one of the knights asks for silence and claims that the ceremony is beginning because Her Holiness has arrived. The boy then kneels down, and the Holy Father says that he will ask Cashinel and Credera on behalf of the church. Is he ready to take on all the responsibility of defending the temple and ask on behalf of the goddess if he is ready to fight with her ball, to which the guy replies yes, and he vows to protect the church with the sword of their goddess. The woman then says that she officially declares him the commander of the Holy Knights of Crescenta. The main character looking at all this understands that now people will most likely start to treat knights better, and everything went well. But then the girl sees him in the crowd. Marilyn says that they met again, after which the main character screams who she thinks she is, and let her not come there anymore, because if she sees her again, But then the blonde tells the lady to watch her language, because she stole her life. Lulutia asks what she is talking about, but her interlocutor asks if she is wrong, and that it is believed that only the goddess Crescenta is able to interfere with the course of time. But it is quite possible that her dark magic and the light magic of Cainshel also affect time. The lady burst into her story and took it for herself. But the main character screams at her to stop talking nonsense, and she claims that she is from the Brique family. Well, she does not possess magic. However, the girl also thinks that what she should have already plunged into eternal sleep is true, and that book from her dreams. In that story, the main character was supposed to be Merlin Lulutia, wonders if all the strange things around her could be due to this time magic. And the blonde at this time asks what is going on, and has the lady really understood that she is not worthy of her role? She stole her life and still dares to threaten, so the girl claims that this is too much, after which she claims that they will see who is right. So let the lady not be so confident in herself. The main character then clenches her fists, and a little while later, the Duke approaches the Emperor. Then the servant announces that Marquise Rithald has arrived, and the man offers to let her go. The girl enters the room and greets the Emperor, but he tells them both to stand up. The Marquise realizes that Brique is also there, and that only Countess Potus is missing, but apparently she got it badly because she no longer belongs to the great clans of the Empire. The Emperor at this time claims that he gathered them there to inform them that the place next to them will not be empty, and the Holy Knights will fight in the vanguard with them. Brique cries out that it is not proper for some barbarians to stand next to them, but the man asks if Sir Brique dares to raise his voice at him, after which he apologizes. The Emperor claims that he understands his feelings and is not too happy either. The Marquise claims that they will not be able to find other warriors before the campaign begins anyway, and she agrees with His Majesty's decision. Brique at this time thinks what kind of inappropriate flattery this is, after which he apologizes for his irritation and claims that, of course, he obeys his order, and the Emperor claims that their loyalty knows no bounds, so they can go. His Majesty also turns to the Marchioness and tells her to stay for a moment, to which the lady replies that she will do as the Emperor wishes. When Sir Brique leaves, the Marchioness turns to His Majesty and asks if he has a task for her. The Emperor says how much he loves this side of her and claims that the lady has excellent fighting skills as well as a great sense of smell. The Marquise says that His Majesty is too kind, but he claims that he thinks the lady will also handle his task perfectly. The girl then asks what he wants to order her, after which the man answers that there is nothing complicated and let her just take away all the demonic stones from these barbarians so that they do not appropriate all the glory for themselves. We must remind them where their place is. A little while later, one of the ladies turns to the commander and tells him to wait, because she wanted to congratulate him and wonders if he would accept an embroidered scarf. Another lady also offers her cookies, after which several more ladies come there. The guy only sighs after that. And then he keeps saying, what if they don't all shut up? Well, then Crone starts screaming and turns to the commander. He says that Lady Brique is looking for him, so he should come quickly. When they leave, the blonde also turns to the lady and says that the commander will talk to them another time. But when they leave, the guy only turns to the commander and claims that he almost destroyed their restored reputation, to which the guy replies that they themselves are to blame. But Crone says that Sir Cainshel should be patient for Lady Brique. The guy asks if it is really for her sake, and his interlocutor says that he acts as if he does not understand. But it was Lady Brique who did more for them in the temple than anyone else, so he suggests that he take a deep breath and endure for her sake. But the guy claims that he doesn't want to be nice to other girls, after which the blonde tells him to just not throw himself at people. The commander just tells the guy to shut up and let him through, because he said that Milady is waiting for him. Crone claims that it was just an excuse, after which the commander completely throws him off course and says that it doesn't matter, but let him pass her office at this time and sighs, after which the maid asks, "Miss, if something is wrong." Lulua then says that everything is fine, but the maid wonders why the lady has such a face then. The girl thinks that she can't tell her, but she is too embarrassed by the fact that the commander is calling her mistress. After which she hears someone knocking on the office door, after which the commander comes in and asks if the mistress called him, but the girl only screams and covers his mouth. Sui asks what he said about the main character. She answers that nothing and asks the maid if she can go to the Esfed Guild. After all, she needs to take something from Gaston. The maid then understands that they want to spend time alone, and says that, of course, and let them enjoy the conversation. The main character wants to say that this is not what she thought, but the maid is already leaving, after which the girl sighs and turns to the commander and asks why he calls her that in public. But the guy replies that it is true. Lulua says that this is too much, after which the young man asks, "How about so that the lady could choose for herself what he should call her, Lulua?" Asks if this is true, to which the guy replies that of course she will have everything as she wishes. The main character claims that anything would be better for the mistress, and the commander, with a smile on his face, says that he will wait for her decision. A little while later, the maid brings the lady tea, and says that she called her several times, but the lady did not answer, and she was so deep in thought. The main character apologizes and says that she herself did not expect it. The maid then says that the lady should not grind too much, otherwise she will get worse. But at the same moment, she drops the kettle. Lulua turns to Sui and asks if she is okay, after which the maid apologizes and claims that she will clean everything up right away. The main character asks if she got hurt, to which the lady replies that she cannot answer. She only got the floor dirty. Lulua asks if she hasn't fully recovered from that time, to which the maid replies that no, she is perfectly fine, but the main character says that she does everything through force, so let her rest today, and she will ask Sir Crone to look after her. Sui then screams in shock. How can she rest while the lady is working, and she will also tell Sir Crone? The main character says that someone is needed who will take care of her, and in her thoughts she adds after she plunges into eternal sleep. Lulua claims that she will explain everything to him herself, and the lady should better go to bed and rest for a couple of days. Well, when the maid is going to revive the main character, screams so that she does not argue with her, after which he slams the door. When the lady finds herself alone in the room, she sighs and realizes that the commander said that he would find a way out, but she knows that her destiny is predetermined and must prepare for her departure. Well, then the lady thinks why she is so sad. At that moment, she hears some sound. When she turns to the source, she realizes that it is the entire egg that was given to them at the competition, after which she keeps wondering why it fell. At this time, someone enters the Duke's office and addresses him, but the man claims that he is tired, so he suggests that he speak faster. The butler claims that it is about the magnolia, and maybe it is not worth doing after all. But the man immediately throws a vase at him and asks what he is carrying and whether this is what he came for. The butler then apologizes, but says that their finances are simply not in the best shape, and the gentleman's research requires funds, and soon even the famous name of Brique. Well, the man just tells him to shut up, and they are the greatest clan in the country, so nothing can break them, and he is obliged to bring Pecha back to life. He also claims that the butler can't imagine how much dark magic it will require, after which he even says that the butler irritates him and also tells him to get lost. To which he agrees, and the man understands that he just needs to win this campaign, and then Pecha will return to him. A little while later, the knights are also preparing for the march, and the main character tells Sir Jarius to check all the calculations again, to which he agrees. At this time, Alt turns to the lady and says that maybe it would be better for her to rest, but the girl asks what he is talking about, because he will soon be performing for them, and if she leaves, she will not be able to see them. But the guy then turns to the lady and screams that she has no face. The girl replies that she is fine, but understands that sleepless nights are taking their toll. She also remembers how the egg moved, after which she touched it, and understood that it was moving. The girl put it on the window, and now she can't sleep because of the anxiety. She is really tired, but she and the commander won't see each other for a long time, and besides, she promised him that she would think of a name for her. At this time, the guy once again wants to address her as the mistress. The girl immediately screams to the commander and asks if he has already finished the inspection, to which he replies that he has, and claims that they can act right now. But it is painful for him to leave her alone. The main character then says that if the squad leader walks around with a sour expression, all fighting spirit will disappear, so let him pull himself together. The girl also claims that she still has to fulfill her promise and asks if he remembers. The girl also claims that her name is Lulua, and it was he who told her that it means beloved child. So thanks to him, she fell in love with her name and also asks to call her Lulua because now she is loved by him. The girl also takes the commander's hand, and then she comes closer to him and kisses him. Well, when the guy wants to repeat this, the lady closes his mouth and says that it's enough for today, and he'll get the rest when he returns, and she'll be waiting for him. The lady then asks if he'll return, and the guy replies that yes, and he will return safe and sound, after which the two say goodbye, and all three forces head to the front. A little while later, the main character is sitting with the maid on the street. Sui asks if the egg has enough light, to which the main character replies that yes, and it really does look alive, so let it warm itself in the sun. The maid then asks what the lady thinks and who will hatch from it, since it is unlikely that a real dragon will come out of it. Lulua says that a turtle may hatch from it, and then the maid laughs and says what a joker the lady is. She also claims that 10 days have passed since the knights left, and they have probably already arrived. The main character replies that yes, and she thinks that the battles have already begun. Sui says that it is so amazing, because when they first came to the temple, it was in terrible disrepair. And now the holy knights fight on par with the clans, Lethald and Brique and all this, thanks to the lady Lulua. Tells her not to exaggerate, but the maid suggests that the lady not to be modest. After all, it was she who came up with the Shimmer and provided the flow of funds, and that art competition also played a role, because if they had not won the prize, the commander would have had to constantly look for a new sword. They also got rid of Countess POTUS, and the knights were able to go on a campaign. Lulua says that this is pure coincidence, but the maid claims that coincidences are not coincidences. Of course, she is worried that Duke Brique is there because he does not like knights. The main character says that there are too many strangers there, and Marquise Lethald will be able to stop him. The maid claims that she may be in league with them, and asks if the lady knows what kind of person she is, to which the girl replies that she has not seen her personally, but understands that Anya has read, and that the Marquise is the head of one of the 3 powerful clans of the Empire. She is incredibly loyal to the Emperor, and is an excellent weapon wielder, so she is worthy of respect, but the lady is still bothered by her loyalty to the crown. It would be called faith. The main character also wonders if she cares that the emperor is holding the head of the Holy Church hostage, after which she understands that she needs to think it over and wants to see that dream again. But the lady thinks whether she can continue to depend on the tips of her other, because then she will interfere in Marilyn's life again. The lady with the blonde hair is in her bed at this time, and is reading a letter from Glenn Roberto Lulua. Understands that she has been waiting for this letter for so long, but she does not feel anything, and now she must take possession of Caneshell and Crader. Then she will be able to see Prince Glenn in person, the blonde. Then sighs and says how much she hates Lady Lulua Brique. The knights are in the camp at this time, and one of them comes with a box of crystals, and also claims that it is easy. The guy claims that they have collected so many magic stones, and they will last a long time, but the commander tells him not to exaggerate. After which, the young man says that this is true, and in this campaign, they showed themselves the best. But there, the Marquise also fights well. However, the guy also talks about the Duke, and claims that he already exudes evil, and he is interested in whether he saw that his fighters do not even know how to hold a sword properly. They did not stand next to them, and will only cripple themselves. The Brique warriors so constantly end up in the infirmary. Well, then the Duke approaches them and asks why the knights would suddenly talk about him. Alt then asks if this is really the Duke and if he has any business with them. The man claims that it is strange to hear such a question, or it is logical that he would not enter their tent without a reason. The commander of the White Knights asks, "What is the matter?" and offers to let them in on it. The man claims that they do not go to the infirmary, but he is sure that the Emperor ordered them to use their powers to treat the wounded, so he wonders if he is shirking his work. The guy claims that many soldiers were injured, and they have already sent their people to the infirmary. The Duke then smiles and says that it seems he understood, and they decided to take advantage of the situation, after which he also tells the guy to stop this circus and go to the wounded. But the commander replies that no, and this will affect the speed of their advance. The Duke then asks if he really thinks he can convince him of this, but the boys answer that he just wants to hear his arguments. The man claims that the barbarian is a general and wonders if this is a bit of an honor, and it's all thanks to that lousy Lulua. The guy replies that their conversation is not relates, but the lady's father screams that it relates and wonders if he doesn't know that she's using them while they're like obedient dogs fighting monsters. He also doesn't wonder if the girl begged them to sort things out with her daddy. The knight commander claims that he told him to watch his words, and the man only claims that she stole his money and lives happily as a garbage rat. Well, at that moment, the knight commander can't take it anymore and hits the Duke. Crone tells the commander to calm down. After all, he is the head of the strongest clan. My man only says what disgusting barbarians they are, and they are the same as that bastard. After which, Brique screams out, "How dare they stand in his way?" At this time, Crone screams for Jarius to hold the commander, and for Alt to immediately call Marquise Lethald, to which he agrees. A little while later, the guy runs up to the Marquise, and she says that this is how the situation is not simple. The guy with red hair says that it looks like they won't stop, after which they ask to intervene, but the girl replies that she doesn't want to, which surprises the young man and screams, "What is she talking about?" The girl thinks how funny the guy is and asks her to intervene. She also remembers how the Emperor claimed that she should not allow anyone to interfere with him, and realizes that she was actually thinking about how to take the stones from them, after which the lady claims that everything is the will of the goddess, and asks if this is true. The knight commander throws the Duke into the street at this time, and he gets angry at him. Crone thinks that things are bad, and the rest of the people at this time ask if Duke Brique and Commander Encreter really had a duel. The blonde understands that Brique is one of the strongest families in the Empire, and this battle can bring to naught all their efforts. While people take it for a duel, everything can be fixed, but at the same moment he hears the Duke screaming because he is getting wounded. The commander of the knights says what a bastard he is, and then swings again. But at that very moment, someone stops them, and it turns out to be the Marquise. She claims that the Emperor allowed him to take part in this campaign, and the guy shamelessly attacks his ally, so she believes that this can be considered treason. The commander then says that if she interferes, then he will. But at that very moment, someone stops him and screams for him to finally calm down, because if the commander continues in the same spirit, then they will have to return to the capital and let him just imagine how upset Lady Brique will be. The guy then lowers his sword, and the Marquise says that the Duke should be taken to the infirmary, and that the commander should be detained until all the circumstances of the case are clarified and left in a solitary tent. The guy with red hair at this time turns to Sir Crone and asks why he didn't stop them too. But the guy wonders if he has forgotten that they obey the Emperor there, so they will have to endure. The blonde is also interested in what it is, because as soon as someone starts talking about a lady, he can't hold back, so he has to decide what to do next. The main character is in bed at this time and calls the commander in her sleep, after which she wakes up and thinks what the hell that was, because she saw him being taken away somewhere. The girl turns to her other self and wonders if this guy's in danger, but this girl just disappears. The main character tells her to wait and asks how she can help him, but then she completely understands that she must cope on her own, after which the lady gets out of bed. But at that very moment, the maid runs into the room and screams to the miss that she heard a scream, and also asks if she is okay, to which the lady replies that everything is fine and apologizes. The maid asks why the lady screamed so much then, and whether she had a nightmare. Sui asks if she should make some tea, to which the main thing the game does not answer, that it is not necessary, and they do not have time because she needs to go to the camp in Magnolia. The maid asks why so suddenly, and the main character replies that it is necessary, after which the woman asks, what does it mean necessary, because there is a war going on there. So how can she let the mistress go to such a dangerous place? Well, the main character says that the commander is in danger, and she saw it in a dream. He is being taken away somewhere. The maid then says what to do with the mistress, and it seems she is not yet woken up from the nightmare, so she better calm down. Lulua says that it was not an easy dream. The maid replies that yes, and Lydia will tell her about him in the morning with a fresh head. But the main character understands that she did not believe her, but she cannot leave the commander in danger, after which she claims that she knows. And all this seems like nonsense. But at that very moment, she hears someone claiming that the child is telling the truth. The main character says what kind of scary voice it is, and wonders if it was Sui who said it, to which she replies that of course not, and wonders if it wasn't the lady. But at the same moment, someone says how sad it is, and wonders if she doesn't recognize him. Everyone knows the dragon lady and the wife of the first emperor. He is her descendant. The main character then asks in shock if this is really a dragon. Sometime later, Lulua asks if this means that he is one of those dragons who teach people magic, to which he replies that yes, and the other dragons have already left this world. But the goddess called him to her and turned him into a child. The main character says that this is how it is. Now she needs to leave, so they will talk later. The maid says that the miss is at it again, and the dragon is only interested in how it is, and the lady is going on a long journey. So he wonders how she will get there. Lulua replies that they have horses, and she will take one of them or get into the carriage. But the maid cries out to the miss that it is unwise because even a strong boy would take us a week to get there. Therefore, she will not let her go anywhere, after which she offers to stop altogether. But the dragons then offer their help and claim that such magic is not at all simple, and let his appearance confuse her. But for many years, he taught people magic, so he will help her. The main character asks why they just met, and why would she help him? The dragon replies that, of course everything has a price, but she can trust him because he got this body to meet her, and she awakened him. Lulua says she doesn't understand, and the dragon claims that the goddess's thoughts are incomprehensible, after which he asks what she will say, because if the lady leaves alone, she will destroy herself or she will achieve what she wants with his help. The main character then asks what the price is. Let him say this, and then she will make a decision, to which the dragon replies that he wants to know the name, and let the lady come up with a name for him, and he will be her dragon. Lulua understands what it means, now she must take care of him, but still thinks that dragons are things that belong to the imperial family. And from time to time, the one who could control the dragon became the emperor. To be honest, all this is stressing her out, and the lady says that she has one more question, after which she asks why he wants to become hers. The dragon in response asks why she is asking, because all people want to get a dragon. Well, the main character replies that she is not, and that is why she is interested in his goal. The dragon replies that she is not, and he said that he came there only for her sake, and only the lady could wake him from sleep. Lulua says that she has no magic left and asks if he was mistaken. The dragon then screams what she is talking about, and then says that she really has lost her magic. But however, she still managed to awaken him, so the lady can be proud of herself. The main character says that it is not that she believes him, but there is nothing to do, and she still has suspicions. But there is no time, and when everything is over, she will come up with a special name for him, so she asks him to help her, after which the dragon says that the conditions of the contract are then fulfilled and begins to use its magic. The maid turns to Mix and screams for her to wait, but the girl then ends up in another place and begins to fall. The girl screams that they will fall into eternal sleep right now, and the dragon apologizes and claims that he hasn't practiced for a long time, after which they fall onto some tent. The dragon claims that, of course, and he just sat in the egg for too long. So I was wrong. The main character then says yes and asks if he threw them, God knows where. But at the same moment, they see someone else, and it turns out to be the Marquise. The girl asks if this is really a goddess. The main character is surprised by this. The marquise understands that this cannot be, and this lady is too young. And also, the dragon is just a chubby baby, so she claims she misspoke Lulutia. At this time, asks if she will keep quiet. And the marquise asks if the lady knows the legend of the goddess Crescentia. She is a beautiful girl with rose-colored hair and golden eyes. She looks after this mare, along with the dragons, and the dragons have shared their magic with the people. And there is no place hidden from the sight of the goddess. The marquise claims that she worships her empire that has gained divine favor, and the resemblance of the lady to the goddess is an unforgivable blasphemy. The main character in shock asks what she is talking about, after which she thinks about rose-colored hair and golden eyes, and also thinks that she is hearing about this for the first time. But by the way, she spent her entire childhood locked up, and her father was not very involved in her education. Well, that time, the statue that left the commander speechless. Well then, the main character remembers the commander and wonders where he is now. After which the girl asks if she is really talking about Cainshel. Lulucha claims that she heard that he was in danger, and so asks to be taken to him. Well, the lady with blue hair says no, and he is placed under arrest for attempted mutiny, and she is even less trustworthy. The marquise understands that before this girl would have been shot immediately upon her appearance, but she looks too much like a goddess. After which she even claims that she will take the lady to safe lands and let her know that she has been shown a great favor. At this time, the Duke enters the room and claims that he thought he imagined familiar magic, but that means he has not gone mad. The man also asks what Lulucia Brique is doing there. The main character then asks if it is her father, and the man claims that the girl is probably hiding somewhere like a rat, after which he grabs her hand and screams for her to go there. Lulutia tells her father that she is in pain, after which the marquise turns to the Duke, but he only cries out how this creature dares to contradict him. The lady at this time remembers how, when she was younger, someone turned to her and said that she was so beautiful. Someone else claimed that the marquise had grown so much, and what would they do with her since she wouldn't take a sword in her hands? Well, and when the girl started practicing with the ball, someone claimed that she was so strange, since she was a supporter of flowers and dresses, and she just wanted to fight. Someone called her a girl, someone milady, and someone a beast. And now the man screams, calling her a beast, which makes the girl angry. And then they even come up to him and hit him on the shoulder, after which they say, "That's enough," and let the Duke stop, after which he asks what this means, and the lady claims that she is disgusted to look at it. The man screams that this girl belongs to him, therefore let her not interfere in Brique's affairs. But the girl asks, what does it mean, belongs to him? It seems he is confused. After all, they are on her territory, and it seems that he is interfering in her affairs. The marquise tells him to leave before she sends him to court. But the man claims that he can deal with his daughter himself and does not understand why he is always being disturbed. After which he turns around and curses. The marquise then sighs and tells the lady to follow her. And she wanted to meet Cainshel, Lulutaya. Understands that she wants to ask this lady a question, but it seems that she is still angry, after which the main character is not interested in why the marquise helped her. The girl claims that she does not like those who behave like that with girls, and she saw how terribly it ends. The marquise says that that's all, and there is nothing personal there, after which the main character thanks her, and says that let it be for personal reasons. But the lady saved her from what she had gone through herself. The marquise at this time understands that she thought that the lady only looked like a goddess on the outside, but her soul was also beautiful. A little while later, the marquise opens the cage and says that it is there, after which the main character sees the commander there. When the guy notices Lulutia, he immediately gets up. The main character hugs him, and the guy asks if this is really her, and if it is a dream. He also notices a dragon in the lady's arms, and asks what it is, and the girl replies that she will explain everything later, but now she only thanks the marquise. The girl says that you are welcome, and she only allowed them to meet, but the lady knows that she can't just let this guy go. After which she also tells Cainshel to answer her question. The guy asks which one, after which the lady asks if he also sees the image of a goddess in Lady Brique. The guy asks if she is talking about the image from the legend, which states that she is a beautiful rose, a hairy girl with golden eyes, accompanied by a dragon, to which he answers that this is true. The guy claims that this description really does resemble Miss Lulusia, and the girl asks if this means that she wasn't imagining things, after which the guy asks what she's talking about. The Marquise replies that for a moment, she thought she was a young goddess and wondered if he shared that feeling. The commander claims that they are similar, but still different, and he clearly sees the line between the image of the goddess and Miss Luluti, although next to her, he also feels a surge of faith, after which the Marquise starts laughing at him and claims that she loves this word very much and has always followed her faith and will do the same now. After which, she frees the guy from the handcuffs and says that she liked his answer. The emperor will be very disappointed in her, but apparently such is fate. The main character asks what she means, and the lady replies that she is devoted to the empire and must keep many things secret, but she can say something, and that is so that they would be wary of the emperor, and also think about what will happen after their return. She also congratulates the knight and says that he has been awarded for his impressive feats. A little while later, the main character and the commander return to the others, and a little while later, they are already returning back to their hometown. People immediately praise them. The main character is in the middle of the crowd, and when she sees that the commander is looking at her, she smiles. Merlin is in a dream at this time, after which she sees Prince Glen all the time. She immediately runs up to him, but notices that his hands are so cold, after which she claims that the climate in the north is terrible, so she asks him to wait a little. The girl also asks if he knows that she is trying very hard to create a wonderful future for them, but the guy just remains silent. The girl turns to him a little surprised, but when he answers her, he suddenly starts to crack, and the blonde screams for him to wait and not leave, after which the lady wakes up and then gets out of bed. And when she falls to the floor, she sees newspapers with Lulusia, and also the knights who returned from the war, and the news that the first prince has fallen into eternal sleep. The main character reads this news and wonders what will happen now, to which the guy replies that it is necessary to investigate the circumstances of his immersion in eternal sleep. But if the suspect is not found, then Prince Hesios will become the heir. The girl at this time thinks about this prince and understands that he is a rude man and a loafer, and also pushed aside the previous empress and took everything into his own hands. He is also the only son of Empress Mariam. Everyone knows that the empress sent Glen to the north only because he was an obstacle for Hesios to the throne, since the first prince was a master of the sword, and also a highly moral person. But now the first prince has plunged into eternal sleep, and the girl thinks that it is clear who will be under suspicion. The dragon also addresses the lady, and claims that there are ongoing disputes in the palace, and in his time, the emperor was the one the dragon recognized, so he says how much the world has changed. The dragon screams that he doesn't like the name Manus, because it has a terrible meaning, and the main heroines claim that it was Kenny Shell who suggested it, and it is so cute. But it turns out that this name means dog in translation from the ancient language. The dragon then says that in any case, it is better not to interfere in the palace matter, after which the commander states that he still needs to go there, and he received an invitation. The main character screams, "Why so suddenly?" and wonders if they suspect him of something. But the guy asks why, because they are just trying to interrogate everyone. So let her not worry. But the lady at the same moment says, no, and she can't let him go there. What if the guy is arrested under some pretext? Well then, the girl claims that they will not dare to do anything against members of a noble family, and she, as Lady Brique, will accompany him there. The guy then turns to Milady and asks if he can disobey her, and if they will do as she wants. The main character then agrees, and a little while later, someone reports that the commander of the Holy Knights is Consul Encrater, as well as Lady Lulusia Brique greets His Majesty. The emperor is silent after this, and his wife looks a little scared, after which the main character and the commander bow, and say that it is an honor to meet them. The man then tells them to raise their heads, and claims that he is sure that they are aware of the latest news, since the first prince has fallen into eternal sleep. The knight commander says he can't imagine what it's like to lose a son, so they offer their condolences, and the man says it wasn't easy for him. Well, the emperor says that a warrior like him couldn't go into eternal sleep from a simple attack, so he orders the guy to go to the northern frontier and investigate the circumstances of his going into eternal sleep, and let him try not to disappoint him, and to which the guy replies that he obeys. And the Empress at this time is silent. A little while later, she is already heading somewhere, after which she opens the door to one of the rooms and screams the name of her son. After this, the guy asks who is there and asks his beautiful mother if something really happened. The woman says he has found time to sing, and it is important to keep a clear mind now. After which she keeps screaming at him that the emperor called the commander of the knights there. The guy asks why he cares about this Varvara, but the woman screams, "How can he talk like that?" And he was entrusted with the task of putting Glenn into eternal sleep. The blonde asks if she's serious. Well, his mother said that she would arrange everything and that her people would handle the investigation. The woman says that of course he blamed everything on his mother and is having fun there. She also understands that she thought that the emperor didn't care about Glenn, but she was wrong. Hesios is not fit to hold a candle to his brother, after which she tells the guy to just keep himself busy with something, to which he says that he knew it, and that means his mother sorted everything out. Well, the woman just screams for him to go and think about how he can earn the emperor's trust, and also understands that they cannot get caught, and apparently will have to deal with the commander of the knights.